My name is Miguel Myers. Welcome to My Horror Confessional, where every week I will have a guest come on and talk about one classic horror movie that they haven't seen and why. We'll discuss the movie, the actors, and probably get off topic quite a bit. Once I believe that they have properly atoned, I will absolve them of their horror movie sin. Today, we have my internet friend turning IRL friend, Anthony Jerome M. We actually met through our mutual love for the Pod Mortem, which is the greatest horror podcast. It's my favorite podcast in the world. Anthony, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be here. You have such a wide range of fascinating guests on this show. I was truly honored to be asked to be here. I'm just some guy on the internet making jokes, making myself laugh. So the fact that you have me on here, once again, it's truly an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you're not just some guy on the guest. You're one of, or one some guy on the internet. You're one of the most hilarious people that I ever met. Your tweets are criminally underappreciated. Like your shit needs to go viral. It's fucking amazing. You're hilarious. So I'm
Thank
honored
you.
for you to be on there.
Well, thank you very much. The honor, we both feel it. I love it. We're getting off to a
Yeah,
great start.
there's a lot of love in the air. So Anthony, what I typically ask my guests is, what has been your experience with horror growing up as a child? Were you into it? Did your family approve of it? How did you take that in through adolescence up until now? Like just your whole background, I should say.
Gotcha. So, as you can tell, by some of my tweets, I don't like to exaggerate. I'm very black and white. I'm very straightforward. So when when I say this, I'm serious. I've had horror injected into my veins since I was a child, since I was a baby. Like I see a world through a horror lens. So basically, my family has always kind of been okay with it. At the very least, my Mexican side of my family, because Mexicans love to scare kids. So my my entire life, I've been getting scared. I've been told that they're going to call Candyman on me, and whoever else was
El
scared.
Cucuy.
Exactly, El Cucuy. Like they picked up the phone. I'm going to call El Cucuy. Okay, you know what? Maybe I was being a little too crazy. I apologize.
Let me reevaluate. As a
Exactly.
5-year-old, I was wilding.
Like, oh wait, El Cucuy, you know what? Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, like as a kid, they were always trying to scare me. So like being scared was never, I never shied away from it because it could be fun to be scared. I remember, I think I was like 3 or 4 years old. I have this memory. It's one of my first memories of holding a VHS copy of Night of the Living Dead, 1968. And those images stuck in my head until I was a little bit older, about 8. And then I saw the movie for the first time that I remember watching it. And I was like, wait, this that movie I saw when I was a baby. And so ever since then, like that movie has always been a part of my life. So I think because of that, everything spooky always kind of interested me. Like the Halloween episodes of TV shows, Martin, especially, some of my favorite things to watch.
Yeah.
Um, some things I watched as a kid was like beyond belief, fact or fiction. Still fucks me up thinking about it sometimes. Um, and then there was like this paranormal show called So Weird on the Disney Channel. Um, Pretty much whatever I could get my eyes on that my parents would let me watch, I would watch it. Just because horror to me, it's the most realistic genre. Um, I don't think I'm going to go into a bookstore and meet the love of my life. I do think I'm going to go into a bookstore though, and somebody might follow me out and kill me or lay a curse on me.
Get your stalker. You get a
Exactly.
stalker. Yeah.
So like horror to me just always seems like the more realistic genre. Like, yeah, that house probably is haunted. 8 people died there. What do you think? Like, so
Yeah.
horror to me has just always been such an interesting genre. It's always been the most. It could be the wackiest. It could be the most serious. It could be funny, and it just fits so many different areas of life that I was like, how can I not like this? This is for me. This is all for me. Thank you. Ghosts, spirits, goblins. I love it.
Yeah. And I think nowadays horror is really the genre that's telling the most groundbreaking stories.
Hmm.
The stuff that is really pushing boundaries. So yeah, I agree with you. How about like did you have a circle around you? Like you were talking about your brother earlier. Is your brother a fan or friends in high school or college or whatever it may be that you kind of bonded with?
So I was always the horror influence. So if you don't like horror and you become my friend, you're going to like horror after we become friends.
Nice. That's
And
good.
it's because I believe there's if you like action, if you like romance or whatever, I can find you something with that, but also has horror. So I'll meet you on your level. Trust me, I can find. I'll find you. I know what you like. So basically, if you were around me, I'm going to introduce you to horror. And I guess my biggest like influence was always my mom. She was always showing me stuff, even stuff. I think I saw Scream when I was like 6 years old. Uh, a 6-year-old shouldn't be seeing a girl hanging from a tree with the guts hanging out. It's those
Yeah,
tears.
let's save that for seven. At seven, when
You
you're
know exactly, exactly. 7, you're a little bit mature. You can watch Goosebumps on TV. So
yeah,
Um, so yeah, my mom has always been like, "Hey, have you ever seen this? What do you mean you haven't heard of this?" So I was always getting, always getting my
yeah,
library updated. Um,
I love
so
that. Your mom sounds awesome.
she'll claim like, "No, I never showed you that." Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I remember.
yeah. I didn't have a Blockbuster card, Mom. You were the one.
Mom, sleepaway camp. You showed me that. You think I made this up?
Oh, that would be that is like some 8 year old's fever dream. Like at the end there, right?
And I think maybe it's because I've always wanted to go to like a boarding school or like a camp. I think my mom thought to herself, you know what? I need to cut that shit out of his head right now. We're gonna watch Sleepaway Camp. You'll never want to leave the house again. And now I stay home all day.
I love that your mom was using horror movies as a way of like, yeah, your mom's using horror movies as a way of disciplining her children. That's a new way of parenting. She needs to write a book on that. Parenting through horror. Oh shit.
Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna trigger too many people.
So, what would you say? Do you have a favorite genre of horror, or some genre that you lean towards, or you kind of like everything?
Okay, so I recently discovered this, and it's a very guilty pleasure. But zombies, anything to do with zombies, I love it. If it's bad, I'll watch it just to say I did. If it's good, then it's in the library.
Yeah.
Uh, because my biggest fear is being eaten alive. So I don't know.
Oh, like trash from Return of the Living Dead. Have you seen Return of the Living Dead?
I have, but I've only seen it once, and this was like a few months
Okay.
ago.
Trash was Linnea Quigley, the girl who gets naked in the cemetery, and she's like, my biggest fear is being eaten alive by like men grabbing me, and then that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'll take the men grabbing me, but it's the being. It's
I
been,
like I set you up. I was like, is he gonna take it? Is he not gonna take it?
but yeah, like teeth aren't sharp, so
Yeah.
that scares me. Like I'm terrified.
Oh yeah.
So like
That-
with zombies, there's so much commentary on either society or who we are as people, or some scientists fucked up and like people are eating people, and it's still a fun ride. So like I said, it's a very guilty pleasure. Unfortunately, it's not like a smart answer. Like, oh yeah, everything by A24 and Ari Aster.
no.
Mwah.
A24 isn't. I guess it could be its own genre, but I find like the typical A24 fan is kind of a douche.
Yeah.
But you can say A24.
Like going to
Um,
like deep horror. Okay.
yeah. Oh, elevated horror, right?
Right, elevated. Okay, sure. Get your head out of your ass.
Um, you recently saw a movie that we both. Well, you ended up loving. You saw for the first time was Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Yes. Oh my god.
That movie was amazing, but I saw it like for the podcast. I saw it like like 3 or 4 times in the span of like 2 days because I had to take notes and I saw the director's commentary and all that sort of stuff. And after that, like I was just like staring blankly ahead for a couple minutes, just like this fucking movie, man. But you saw it like a couple times, right?
I did watch it 4 times in the first week. I just thought the way they portrayed the kills, like it was a dead body and then you heard the sounds. I don't know why. I just thought that was so creative, so genius, and really terrifying because you don't have to see somebody being murdered to get scared. And honestly, I think if the murder was shown, I would have been a little out of it, like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, you're killing a woman. But it's like, here's the aftermath. Here's the audio of what happened during. Put the rest together in your mind. I loved it.
Yeah. It's so creepy that they would just put the audio over the images of what has already been happening or what's
Hmm.
already happened. It's like haunting, and it stays with you a lot longer than a kill, because as horror fans we're kind of desensitized to the visual
Yes.
aspect of it. So when somebody removes that visual aspect and it's just the audio, then it's like, holy shit, like you need to pay attention to what's happening. You know,
Hmm.
you can't disassociate. So that was great. And then that kind of leads into the movie that you're here to confess to never having watched, um, which is Black Christmas from 1974.
Yes.
And that's because we're talking about a serial killer who is very creepy and doing and is using like different the directors are using different aspects to make us kind of wake up and take notice. So Black Christmas 1974, you've never seen it. Can you tell me why do you think that is, that this movie's never, we're never able to cross this one off of your list?
Okay. So the reason I haven't seen Black Christmas, um, I'm sorry to admit it, but I'm going to admit it here. I hate the 70s. I hate it. um, I used,
Listeners, this is going to be our shortest episode to date. Anthony Jerome M, I want to thank you
you
for
know,
coming on the podcast. You've been
had a
lovely.
blast. You know what? I had a good
Okay.
time. I knew this would happen, but it was
Okay,
fun.
so all right, let me hear this bullshit right now. Hit me with this.
So when I was younger, I used to say all the time, when I go to hell, my punishment is going to be living in the 70s because I hate the colors, I hate the technology, I hate the bullshit that men were allowed to get away with just because, oh, boys will be boys.
Okay, yeah.
No. But honestly, that orange, that olive green, that yellow that was like dirty mustard, which that those are the only colors I think about when I think of the
Uh-huh.
70s. And no, I don't like it.
You're like, I send it back.
Yeah, yeah. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm full. Thanks. Like, I've had quite enough.
But like so you're like, it's not a vibe, you know.
No. But the thing of it is, what I've learned is I've seen some more movies this year that do take place in the 70s. And when they're good, they're really good. Like they have some good fashions, they have some timeless looks, and that yellow, orange, and green that I said I'm so over. Some people do it well, especially in Black Christmas. The main character,
Uh-huh.
one of her main colors is yellow. Gorgeous every single time I see her. So it's very weird because mostly if it's from the 70s, you look ugly and I hate you. Get out of my sight. But there are some gems like Black Christmas which show the 70s in a light that like doesn't bother me. So this movie's a little weird for me.
You are now going to be my co-host for the remainder of this podcast, and it is now just we're showing Anthony Jerome M all the movies from the 70s.
I,
That's the podcast that we just started right now. Congratulations.
no. Oh yeah, actually, oh, you know what? My mom's calling, so I have to go.
Okay. Damn. Where do you think that this hatred for the, or spite, I would say, really spite for the 70s came from? Like, did you watch like that 70s show and you're like, fuck Kelso, like he's always cheating on what's her face, Jackie?
The Brady Bunch.
Ah, okay, yeah, fuck the Brady Bunch, yeah.
I don't vibe with it. I don't like it. I don't oh like I'm of color and we naturally have big families. So the fact that they're we're together and now we have a big family. Cool.
Yeah. That's the premise. No, no, what else?
Yeah,
What else happens?
and they do stuff. But there's so many of them. I'm sorry if you've never been to a carne asada with 50 people and like that's a small number. I don't really need to hear about your 6, 8 people family. Like it's not as wacky as you think.
Or like a cumpleaños where there's more kegs than kids, you know?
Exactly. So I'm sorry. So yeah, it started with the Brady Bunch. It was solidified with that 70s show because, like I said, I'm very glad I grew up in 1991 and I got to watch technology evolve as it has because I'm not going to be playing no fucking Pong. I'm sorry. It's not, that's not entertainment. I can't. I can't even wrap my head around it.
I completely get what you're saying, but also I'm crying on the inside a little bit because like the 70s, besides the eight, like everybody loves 80s horror, but like
Hmm.
the 70s is like my sneaky link. You know what I'm saying? Like you know where I go because I've seen all the 80s stuff, so I gotta go slide into the 70s real quick to find something. You know? Sorry.
Your 70s whore.
Yeah, my
Oh.
70s horror. Okay, all right. I need to process this. So let me just sit with this. Okay, I'm gonna throw a couple names at you real quick.
Okay.
Halloween.
Love it. Love it.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
good. We're back on. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're
Miguel Myers, I know who I'm speaking with.
back.
And even if that was a lie, I would, I still know
Yeah,
that's what my answer is supposed to
yeah.
be.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have you seen any Giallo? Which is like, or are you familiar with the Giallo?
I'm not, well, okay, so I'm familiar with it in the sense that I've heard people talk about it and I know what it is,
Uh-huh.
but I've not seen it for
Yeah.
myself.
Okay.
Um, but the genre does seem interesting. I have just not gotten into it. But like
So
Suspiria,
yeah, have you seen
that's
Suspiria?
love it. Love it.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely love it.
Okay, yeah. So I was gonna say, I think the color palette that you're describing, I could be making bullshit up right now, but I feel like it's more like the American color palette, whereas
Yeah.
in Italy you have and especially in Giallo in the 70s, you have these bright reds, and the women
Mhm.
are like the fashion is top notch. It's amazing. I saw Deep Red, or which is Dario Argento's. It's called in Italian Profondo Rosso. I saw that last week with another guest, and the colors, the fashion in that were just amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna be throwing some movies at you like throughout our friend. We just became really good friends now because you're gonna be watching these movies. And all
Yes,
right, cool.
and I'll watch
Let's
them.
get it.
Hey, I trust you because every movie I've seen from your podcast, I ended up liking.
Okay.
So
All right.
you got the key for recommendations.
I appreciate that. Okay, so we're talking about Black Christmas from 1974. I had a couple of resources that I used for the analysis here. I used this really cool channel on YouTube called After Dark Analysis, obviously IMDb, Wikipedia, and the commentary on the movie itself. The movie was directed by Bob Clark, who's an absolute fucking legend. He did Christmas Story, which is crazy. Also, have you ever seen Christmas Story?
Oh, I love A Christmas Story.
And he did Porky's. I don't know if you've ever seen Porky's, but
I've
like
not.
it's an '80s college like comedy. Women showing tits and men being assholes, that sort of thing.
I always thought of it as like Revenge of the Nerds, but like the cool guy's perspective.
Yes, well, quote unquote cool guy.
Yeah, right.
The Brett Kavanaughs of the world, sort of. So yeah, so he did that. It's so amazing. Like this director has done like Porky's, which is a stupid comedy, and then he did Christmas Story, which is great, and then he did this one, Black Christmas. So he's very versatile.
Well, that's interesting because they seem all similar. Like one's about a frat house, one's about a sorority house. Two take place on Christmas.
Yeah,
I was, that's
yeah.
interesting.
And before he did this, he also did a horror movie called Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, which is one of the best titles I've ever heard. The movie itself is iffy, but the title's great.
Okay.
Written by Roy Moore with help from Bob Clark. It's starring Olivia Hussey, who was in Romeo and Juliet. She plays Jess.
She
Um,
was.
yeah, Margot fucking Kidder as
Mwah.
Barb, a fucking legend, living legend. Or
Barb.
sorry, well, at the time, living legend. She's passed away now, but she
Lois
played
Lane.
Superman. Yeah, she was in the Amityville Horror.
Mm-hmm.
John fucking Saxon from Nightmare on Elm Street. Also
I
from
was
Enter the Dragon.
I was wondering where I knew him from just because I've seen him so much.
Yeah, he's the
That's
father in Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, he's great. He plays Lieutenant Fuller. There's this great website or this great article that I read about John Saxon. It's on filminc.com and it's called The Top 12 Stages of John Saxon. And it lists like his 12 eras. And this dude had such a long career. and you can break it down into the like 12 stages. One of them being horror, the other being like Italian film. So we fucking stand John Saxon over here.
You know
You
what?
know?
We do because I don't know his name. I didn't know what else I've seen him in, but I know this guy has been in movies since I've started watching movies, and he's been in so many of them. So I like
Yeah,
just recognized that. I was like, I'm glad you're here.
yeah. When you see him, you know that you're gonna get a quality performance.
Yes, like he's the serious guy. He takes no bullshit, and like all I know is don't fuck up because he will hand you your ass.
Exactly. And he actually had some comedy bits here too, which is great. And that's the other thing I was going to say about Bob Clark. He does inject humor even in the horror movie. So
Yeah,
that was kind of good too.
we'll get to it a little bit later, but
We'll
there's
get
one
to
part
it. Yeah,
specifically.
yeah. And then John Saxon also starred in what is considered to be one of the first giallo, which is Mario Bava's Girl Who Knew Too Much from 1963.
Okay.
So I just want to mention that. And then there's I'm probably saying this incorrectly, but Keira Dullea as Peter. Keira Dullea was in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and
Mhm.
then as Billy's voice, Nick Mancuso, and we'll be talking about that voice in a little
Let's because I have questions.
bit. All right, so upon initial release in the U.S., the film's title was changed to Silent Night, Evil Night because the American distributor feared that the title Black Christmas might cause the film to be mistaken for a black exploitation flick,
Hmm.
which is, I mean, right there, you were talking about the 70s that you hate. Boom,
uh,
you know?
I don't want them to think there's negroids in this movie. Can we change the title? Fuck off.
Because there's nary a minority to be found in this movie, so
Right,
don't
and
worry.
there are two specifically, and they are the best dressed in the entire movie, and I remember them dearly.
Oh, you have to tell me when they come up when we're talking about because I don't I right now I'm not recalling. So
They're in there for 4 seconds at most.
okay. So however, the film didn't do well under the new title, and it was changed back to Black Christmas because it is a better movie, a better title, I should say.
They
It
could have said
was
half black.
originally.
Half Black Christmas would have been the only thing better than Black Christmas.
That's right. So Anthony goes by Half Black Phillip on Twitter, which is itself an amazing fucking joke. And
Still
then
makes me
when
laugh.
you, I love that fucking joke, or that title or that name. And then when you told me that you wanted to do Black Christmas, I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do Half Black Christmas."
And ever since then, everything black has been half black. So, oh,
Yeah,
you like my half black purse? Like everything is half black with me.
everything. I love it. I just want to talk about a couple things before we get into the movie. The script was originally titled "Stop Me," but Bob Clark came up with that title "Black Christmas," saying that he liked the irony of something dark occurring during such a festive holiday. The title is also tongue-in-cheek reference to the Christmas song and the movie White Christmas. Now, I've always wanted to do a double feature with White Christmas and Black Christmas, but nobody ever fucking wants to do it with me. I haven't seen White Christmas, so I don't know. Maybe it's a. I mean, I know people like it, but have you ever seen White Christmas?
Is that the old black and white movie?
Yeah, with like I think it's Bob Hope or something.
Oh, okay.
I
So I
don't know.
haven't seen it, but that would be fun.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be good.
Because
So we're gonna do
yeah, that's fine. I'm down. I love those old black and white movies. Like if it's before the 70s, I probably like
it. So
it.
like from 1900s to like 1969, you're cool.
Literally,
1970, 1979, no thank you.
iffy.
1980, we're back in it.
Exactly.
Fuck
Like
yeah.
from those black and white movies with no words. Love it.
Silent film, perfect.
Exactly.
We love racism in black and white, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is at this point.
You can't run. Yeah, you can't run from it. It's everywhere.
I'm an American citizen. It's a part of life.
Another thing that I found was that NBC scheduled this film for its primetime network debut on January 28th, 1978, under the name Stranger in the House. But 2 weeks before it, on January 15th, 1978, two female students at Florida State University were murdered by an assailant who broke into the sorority house where they lived. Three other young women in the immediate vicinity were attacked and assaulted. NBC received numerous pleas from locals to pull the movie from broadcast in light of the crimes. And after first stating that they would offer the local affiliates an alternative movie to the broadcast, they decided to just pull the plug on the movie altogether. Um, they later found out that the perpetrator of the crimes at Florida State University was serial killer Ted Bundy. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's um, I can imagine being a studio executive like some asshole wants to kill a girl. Now I can't play in my movie.
Yeah, exactly right.
Just totally not even concerned about the girls. It's like
Well, it's funny because I did Cannibal Holocaust last week with
yes,
Nelson. Yeah, great movie.
Johnny.
But yes, with Johnny, right? In that movie, the network executives want to play the film footage from the documentarians. It was showing everything, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to show it." Till finally, they're like, "Oh fuck, we can't show this." You know,
Yeah,
so the shit plays out in real life. You know.
yeah. And even recently, like with that movie, something about hunting Republicans or something. You know what?
The
No.
Hunt.
Yeah, there was something about like Republicans being hunted, and like there was a shooting recently, so they delayed that movie being released for a year. So like this happens currently. So like
Oh yeah, you're right. I think I know. I haven't seen that movie though. Was it good? Have you seen
I don't remember. I
it?
know I saw it.
Okay.
Emma Roberts was great.
Okay. Cool. So the crimes of Canadian serial killer Wayne Bowden, who was known as the vampire rapist, was the case that inspired the screenwriter Roy Moore for the main plot of the film. Bowden murdered three women in Montreal from November 69 to January 1970. He later relocated to Calgary, where he claimed a fourth victim in the spring of 71, and then he was apprehended soon after. He was sentenced to four life terms and died in 2006. He earned the name the Vampire Rapist because he would bite the breasts of his victims. So,
I'm very glad he's burning in hell
yeah,
because there's no way you do all that and don't burn in hell. Um, disgusting.
yeah, and it just adds to the level of creepiness in this movie because I love Halloween. I love Michael Myers. There's something about seeing Michael Myers, seeing the killer, that kind of the evil that you're in for. This movie we don't see the killer at all, and it just makes it very creepy. So, and I just wanted to say that if you're looking closely, and I'll talk about it later, in the sorority house, you can actually see shadows in the background. So that reveals that Billy has been stalking them the whole movie. I'm not sure if you caught any of those.
No, actually no. I'm quite certain I haven't.
Okay, so when we talk about it, and I'll tell you the scene, go back, later after the podcast or whatever, go back and take a look at it, and it's so fucking creepy. It's
Okay,
crazy.
that's the kind of stuff I live for. So yeah,
Okay,
I love foreshadowing. I love little hints and tips. Like, yes, come on, tell
yeah.
me without telling me.
Hey guys, we heard it on the podcast first. Anthony Jerome M loves little tips, so let's get into
Jesus Christ. Don't put that out because I don't. And like, because I will make a man feel bad. Don't.
it.
They don't need to be hearing
All
that.
right. That's going to be the byline I use
Jesus
to promote.
Christ.
Anthony Jerome M loves little tips. So there we
I'm very upset because
go.
I'm going to talk to my
All right.
lawyer. There's
There you
something's
go.
going to happen.
All right. So the film opens at night on a snow covered college campus. There's a Christmas party underway in one of the sorority houses. It's a large converted mansion. First of all, like, this house is absolutely beautiful. Like, I
Gorgeous.
wish I could live here. You know?
When I saw it, I was like, I'm gonna like what's going on because I like the house. So I'm buckled in.
Yeah, the film setting of Bedford is an intentional homage to the movie It's a Wonderful Life, because we see this town setting and we feel comfortable, like we know what's been happening here, but we've never seen anything like what we're about to see. So it's a false sense of security.
I mean, that's interesting because when I saw it, it immediately looked like somebody on the outside is looking in. So the creep factor from the start, it didn't look like just credits opening. I got the vibe somebody's watching this house. And I was like, damn, we're getting started early. I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, no credits. Like the title came up first before the credits. I always love when that happens. You know, you're in for a fucking ride. You know,
I didn't know
he's
that.
like, yeah, he's like. I always feel like the director's like, listen, we got a tight amount of time. We don't got any time for bullshit. I've packed it all in. Let's just fucking go. You know where we're at. Let's get it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Here's what it is.
yeah,
Watch.
yeah. You're not brand new. Let's go. Right. So the sorority sisters and many of their boyfriends are inside the house, and I just love these. I actually put here. I love these '70s Christmas lights. They remind me of my childhood. And Anthony Jerome just fucking shat on my childhood.
So I was fully having
How fucking dare you, sir?
I was having a Vietnam flashback in that house. I'm sorry, Charlie was definitely watching at that point.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
like, my eyes are being assaulted. Like
there's asbestos everywhere.
There's asbestos and lead, and I'm sure there's poison just flowing through the walls. Like,
yeah, if Billy didn't get these guys, cancer would have got him 20 or 30 years later. You know?
like, trust me, they were gonna die.
Yeah. So outside in the snow, we see a point of view shot that's illustrating someone looking into the windows. The person breathes heavily and seems to be a man, but we still can't tell. The person prowls around before climbing a rose trellis and entering the house through an attic window. He then climbs through the attic trapdoor and lurks in the upstairs of the house, watching the girls downstairs. I just want to say that the cinematographer Albert Dunk, that's the dude's name, Albert J. Dunk, created Billy's point of view shots by rigging up a camera harness that would mount the camera on his shoulder as he walked around the house and climbed the trellis and the attic ladder himself.
That's okay. That's cool to know. I completely forgot. Like, this movie does take place and was made in the 70s, and everything was just way more dangerous back then. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this guy put himself in danger recording himself that way. That's cool. It totally slipped my mind.
Because you don't think about the 70s, Anthony. You don't think about what we went through.
You know what? You're right. Fuck the
I wasn't
70s.
even born in the 70s. I was born in 82. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Oh, cool year. So I don't know what year. Why is this the hill you want to die on, Miguel?
I don't know, but it is. It is. It's because in the 70s I could wear like bell-bottom pants and baggy shirts to hide my belly. So that was the style I was going.
Okay.
Look.
Yeah, let's
that's
go.
That's why I was wearing Jenkos in the 90s. No, I didn't. All right, you're starting to hurt my feelings, Anthony.
So because we've only known each other for like a year, there was a period of time where I shit on Jenkos for months. And so
I never wore it. You think I could afford Jenkos? My mom is not buying me no damn Jenkos.
You know what? I will never underestimate a mother's ingenuity, and she could probably make you some Jenkos.
That is true. Yeah, no, we were a Montgomery Ward family. Okay, we got all that shit at Montgomery Ward.
Okay, so I was very like, I Jenkos en la casa, so like, you don't need those.
Oh my, that's a tweet right there, man.
Me in the 90s, Mom, I want Jenkos. Mom, with the sewing machine, I Jenkos en la casa.
That's classic. All right, so I was just going to say that since Billy is never really seen, we could say that this cinematographer, Albert Dunk, was the person who played Billy for the movie. So,
okay.
Then we're introduced to Barb, the goddess herself. Beautiful.
What a treat. What a delight.
She says, hey, who left the goddamn door open? Right away, we're loving her attitude.
I'm like, okay, so this is clearly a white household because I don't leave my door open or unlocked. So
no. So the first couple months that my wife and I were together, she is white and she was from Wisconsin, so they didn't lock their doors apparently, car doors either, and so we were living in the city in middle of Chicago, and this is the mid 2000s. I still had this book of CDs. She didn't lock my goddamn door. Somebody went in there and stole like 1,000 CDs from me, and I was so fucking pissed. And I'm like, this. We're 4 months into a relationship. She's like, I'll replace them all for you. I'm like, you're gonna replace 1,000 fucking CDs?
How many of them
Really?
were burned that you can't get back?
Exactly. You know how many mixtape CDs I had in there?
Hillary Myers, ATX.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, that I understand that locking the door bullshit. You know.
I mean, I grew up in a small town where like I couldn't go to the bathroom without my backpack. Like if something got stolen and I didn't take my backpack with me, it's on me. So of course I'm gonna lock my house. So the fact that these people grew up without that, what privilege! How awesome! I
Yeah.
love that for you. I want that for me.
Which is the saying that I've stolen from you. Yoink. I
Hey,
do that
take
shit
it
all the time. Yeah.
because it's true.
Yeah. So then we see this dude with the glasses and the hair and the Dick Duster mustache, fashion icon.
Oh,
You can't tell me you saw him and were like goals.
oh, I saw him and I was like, I'm so glad I'm single because I can think whatever I want about you. So, I was like, okay, so I don't need these glasses to see, but so I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's what we're doing. Like,
he's giving looks, yo.
yeah,
Or he was serving looks.
I was like, okay, they're serving fashion. I like you. I like what's going
Yeah.
on over here.
So one of the sorority sisters, who's Barb, played by Margot Kidder, receives a phone call from her mother. Barb seems to have been planning on going home over the Christmas holiday, but her mom's like, "You thought, right? I'm going with my boyfriend."
Like, guess what, kid? Some
Yeah,
dick came up.
yeah, dial a dick. So
You're like,
you know,
it's been real. You can sort yourself out, right? Cool.
yeah. So Bob calls her mother a gold-plated whore, which we love for her.
Which is such a top tier insult. Like, you're not gold. You're not a precious metal. Plated.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about
Yeah,
that.
oh no, I heard
Gold
that.
plated. Whoa. That insult goes deeper than I thought. Okay.
I'm I'm sure you know, but I'm very gay. And when I hear something incredibly insulting, my gay bone is triggered. And and I was like, a gold plated whore. Not only do you think she sleeps around, but you think she's not even worth. No.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't just spit in her face.
Yeah. So you'd say she read her, right? Oh,
Oh,
okay.
oh
Wow.
yeah, that was a read. That was a
Yeah.
read.
Um, so she says she's going to make other plans for the break. And I say, like, the shots of Billy stalking Barb from up top are great. I love that shit. She asks fellow sorority sisters Phyllis and Jessica. So Phyllis is played by Andrea Martin, and Jessica played by, or Jess is played by Olivia Hussey, to go skiing with her instead. And they agree because they're real ones. You know, they're like,
Yeah.
yeah. They realize that her mother just ditched her, and they're like, and they're nice friends. They're like, yeah, yeah, we'll go with you.
And you know what? This is like for me. This is what made Barb the main character because like she's going through so much, and we just met her. Like she had expectations. Her mom shit on them. Now she's relying on her friends for support, and they're supporting her. So like to me, she was primed to be the main character. So I was just like immediately on her side. I'm like, let's get Barb another drink. Let's get her a massage. Let's let's tell her it's gonna be all right because she's going through it.
Yeah, I know that we're gonna be introduced to our main character in a little bit, but
Mhm.
really, I would have loved to follow Barb in everything she does because she is a fucking mess.
And I had to watch this movie a couple times to realize, like, oh, I like her so much because I'm her. Like, from when she's having a good time to when she's drunk being a mess, I was like, Barbie, can I call you Barbie?
Yeah.
Uh, I see you because you're me and we're each other. So,
So that she also asks Claire, but Claire says she's made other plans. To which Barb scoffs.
yeah,
It's like
fuck off,
you
bitch.
just made these plans. She had other plans. Like, who are you scoffing at here? Jesus, Barb.
It's just like, listen, my plans are better. I'm going to
Yeah,
need you to cut that bullshit out. We're going skiing. So, you know, I
Barb is a
see it.
mean girl. Barb is a mean girl for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, I said here, Barb is a messy bitch already. After their boyfriends leave, the girls get another phone call. Jess answers the phone and announces to all the other girls that it's the Moaner. They already got a name for this dude.
Now here's the
Uh,
thing though. This is when
yeah.
Jess answers the phone and immediately acts like she has no sense, right? Because it's hello, hello. Even back then, they didn't answer the phone all frantic and crazy like that. And I was like, I don't know what her deal is, but I want to learn more about her.
Yeah, she was acting a bit brand new, like you know phone etiquette, you know.
Like, huh? No. Like, have you never? If you're acting like you've never answered a phone, then I don't know why you're picking it up.
So this is not a visual medium. The podcast is an audio platform. However, Anthony Jerome M did just pick up a big bottle of lotion, which was by the laptop for whatever reason. I don't know, but we're just gonna be happy for him.
I have dry skin. I need it close
Yeah. Okay.
by.
Okay. So he is not ashy all over. Okay.
I'm sorry.
You know what? I love that for you, Anthony.
I have,
Moving on.
I have
Would you
several
like to
lotion.
move on?
Yeah. That was great. That was great.
All right. So together they listen to the bizarre phone call, which starts out with simply heavy breathing and then escalates. Anthony, put the bottle down. Anthony, put the bottle down.
Okay, but this
Yeah.
call is really good though.
Yeah. But it escalates into strange ranting and obscene language. Claire asks if that could be one person. And it's very interesting because it does sound like multiple voices layered on top of each other, you know? So it could be sort of a scream thing, you know, or it could be two fillers. That's what I think because there's a lot of misdirection in the movie, and so I thought
Yeah.
perhaps that they were trying to do that, you know.
Well, the thing
Which
about this is like it sounded like somebody was being hurt. So it kind of scared me because it's like somebody made a phone call and they're hurting someone and they want you to hear it. And so like for me this scene was like actually incredibly scary because not only does this person frequently call their house, he's doing something that they've never heard before or to a higher extent like the moaner, now it's somebody else and the girls are kind of wondering like is somebody being hurt? And so it just added this extra layer of like this person's hurting somebody and he wants you to know about it. And that just kind of chilled me a little.
Yeah, and just talking about you now, this is what I love about this. Just talking with people who who love horror movies and just discussing it. I just realized that because there's a lot of, and we'll talk about it later, but Halloween is influenced heavily by Black Christmas, and I was just thinking right now, even in Halloween, there's a phone call in which Jamie Lee Curtis believes it to be obscene, right? Because Michael is choking Linda, and she's making the noises, and but
Mm-hmm.
Lori thinks it's an obscene phone call. So I didn't even make that connection here, but yeah, you're right. So then Barb snidely says, "No, Claire, that's the Mormon Tabernacle Choir doing their annual obscene phone call."
Tabernacle is such a good word. Like it's one of my mom's favorite words. So
Really?
yeah, just because it sounds so absurd and like again points for Barb.
Do you remember? I think I'm older than you are, but in the mid 2000s, people started saying church. You know, church in hip hop. They were like instead of saying word, they say church. Well, then people started saying tabernacle as well. So
I'm
this is
very
what I remember.
I'm very glad
I'm,
I was not a part of that.
all right, I'm old, and we're moving on now. All right. So then I got another reference for you. This is the '90s reference, so you may know it. We then hear the caller say, and I apologize for my listeners. Let me lick it. Let me stick my tongue on it and lick it. and then other obscenities, including the C word. And then I'm waiting for the supercut of this scene and the song "You Gotta Lick It Before You Stick It." Have you ever heard that song from the '90s?
You gotta lick it before we kick it. You gotta take that extra step so we can kick it. You gotta lick it before we kick it. You gotta take that extra step so we can kick it.
Okay, I've never heard this song, but one day my cousin told my brother, "You gotta lick it before you stick it," and that quote has just lived in our heads. So like, I've never heard the song, but I've heard that phrase before.
All right, so then Barb gets on the receiver and fucking balls out the caller, firing back with her own obscene comments. Something like, "Oh, why don't you find a wall socket?" It's like, "Oh shit, that's awesome." I love Barb's energy.
I agree, and you know what? I do have to say, I know that I just said that this call like legitimately scared me and kind of terrified me, but when this man was talking about his juicy phallus, I was like, because here's the thing: men use words that can, they're up for, what's the word? Like, if you say big or thick, let me be the judge. But if you say juicy, you know what you're talking about. And I was like, well, maybe you can lick it. I don't know. Like, call my phone. No.
So I don't know where to go with that. Okay,
And you know what? We can leave it at
we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at
that. It's been so long. Jesus.
that. Yeah. So she says, "Why don't you find a wall socket?" Until the caller suddenly lowers his voice and says, "I'm gonna kill you." He then hangs up. So when she says that, oh, I'm sorry, when he says that, her face changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, "Oh shit, man, this is something to be serious about," you know?
Like, if Barb takes it seriously, we all got to take it seriously.
Right, right. So they say, um, so for some reason, I think it was, I forget who says it. Phyllis. Phyllis says, "Super tongue strikes again," and Barb says, "The fastest tongue in the West," and then she flicks her tongue quickly a couple times. I'm not sure what was going on there. They're saying that she's got a mouth on her, maybe.
Yeah, no, my immediate thought was they were talking about the moaner.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
but I still don't get it, and that doesn't seem appropriate.
yeah. It was
Like,
weird.
it's like, who's Silver Tongue? Actually, I don't care who Silver Tongue is.
Yeah,
I just met Barb and the moaner with
yeah.
his juicy thing, so I'm
Juicy,
good.
juicy. Claire tells her she shouldn't provoke someone like that, but Barb plays it off and says she gets calls like that all the time as a city girl. Claire says, "Be that as it may, but there was a town girl who was sexually assaulted 2 weeks ago." And Barb says the most fucking foul, problematic fucking line ever. Do you want to deliver it?
You can't rape a townie. And I don't know what that means, and I don't want to know what it means.
Okay, to be fair, you missed the darling part. She says, "Darling, you can't rape a townie." Foul, problematic, horrible, but the delivery here and the line itself, one of the all-time great lines. It's not true. Sexual assault is terrible, but in the context of the movie and Barb's character and all that, I was just gonna say if we want to talk about what she means by that, or we can leave it at that. Do you want to leave it
Oh
at
no,
that?
because I don't know. I think I know, but the thing is, like, she lost points for me here, just
Yeah,
because it's like, but
yeah.
go on. Yeah, what does it mean? Because I don't know.
Well, because a townie is somebody. So this is a college town. So all the kids, the majority of the population comes into town from outside, right? So then the townie is somebody who lives in town but doesn't necessarily go to the school, and all they do is that they'll go to like a bar and try to pick up college kids, and so they're down to get it in.
Get it in.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I had it written that I was gonna say that earlier, when the guy
Yeah.
was talking about his juicy thing. So I'm glad you did.
As Renee would say. No, as Renee would say, and then
And as
Travis would
Travis would
cover.
say, love it. Because it's like, okay, so they're just down.
Yeah. They're down. They're like bust downs that we would say in Chicago, bust downs.
Bust
I don't know.
downs.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't like that. Girls like to have
Yeah,
fun, and they deserve it. And
exactly.
if a man wants to waste their time and they let them, that's on them.
Yeah. So um, I feel like Barb is a feminist icon, but she's not without her faults. This being one of them. Everybody's with has faults, and especially like This is like first wave or second wave feminism,
Hmm.
and now we're like on fourth wave feminism. But yeah, it's very problematic from her. But I still love her. You know, I can't.
Right.
She's a problematic bae.
Because in the 70s, I think at some point everybody was problematic to a degree,
Yeah.
but also, speaking about feminists, I think Jess is, we'll get to it later, but I think she's the perfect embodiment of like, a man said what? No, I don't quite agree. So, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later, but I think Jess, ultimately, I was like, I know that's right. Tell him you're the head bitch because you are.
Exactly. So Jess tries to smooth things over with the two, but Barb says she knows a professional virgin when she sees one. Line after fucking line. I swear, bar after bar. She got bars,
She's
man.
spitting for sure.
Yeah.
It's honestly it's the alcohol. That's why I love, like, literally after she kind of zings you, she takes a little drink, and I was like, oh, so you're fueled by the liquor, and
Yeah.
I relate.
She's a demon as he takes a sip. Love it. Love to see it. So Claire says but Claire says it's okay. She has to finish packing because her father's going to be picking her up for the next day to take her home for Christmas. So Claire finds Claude, the house mother's cat, in her room, even though the door is closed. Okay, so we know something's happening here. She is actually unaware, but the killer has been watching her from within her closet, behind the dry cleaning bags. And I swear that this movie is the reason that I do not keep those bags in my closet. Fuck that. I come home from the dry cleaners and I take those bags off before I put that shit in there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. This guy has so much money, he gets his shit dry cleaned. I can't relate. I don't know what that's like. Must be nice.
Yeah, fucking money bags over here.
Go to the dry cleaners, okay. And I bet your toilet's made out of gold, and I bet you have 8 butlers.
Gold plated.
This man just called me broke without telling me, and I'm taking that personally.
So we're here with Anthony Brokey McBroke.
Anthony ain't never earned a cent, bitch ass.
So no, it's okay. So the great thing about this is my podcast. I'm cutting that out.
I was gonna say, does your butler or maid go pick up the dry cleaning?
They both go. I don't want them
Okay,
in my house.
right. Okay.
Like Martin would say, get the step. In a morbid twist, the killer meows like Claude, the cat, and lures Claire into the closet. But just at the last minute, she seems to see someone because she's like,
Mhm.
who is it? Who is it? And I'm like, why are you continuing to go forward if you think there is somebody in your closet?
And you know what? That's an entire thing about this movie that I noticed is like, I believe every woman in this movie is going against their better judgment. And we first see it with Claire. Like, she knows something weird's happening in there, but she's still walking towards it. And like, my whole thing with this, like, what made me scared is like, you know, you shouldn't be going in there. Like, I don't even have to yell at the screen. You know, you shouldn't be going in there, but you're still doing it. And so it was just like, it was cool to watch because like, you don't really see characters in horror movies know that they're fucking up, but like she does.
Yeah. And actually, this kind of goes along. I can understand the mentality if you live in a world in which you do not need to lock your front door, you do not
Hmm.
need to be worried about a psychomaniac in the back of your closet.
Yeah.
So once she gets close enough, he lunges at her and then wraps the plastic cleaning bags around her head, smothering her to death. He then carries her body up in the attic and places it in a rocking chair by the window, the plastic bag still over her head. He places a doll in her lap and refers to her as Agnes. This scene of her putting her into the plastic, or I'm sorry, into the chair, and just how that looks is so iconic. It looks amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it was. I was like, I can tell you're doing a lot right now, and you're freaking me out.
Downstairs, the other girls are oblivious to Claire's death, and they welcome the house mother, Mrs. Mack.
Mrs. Motherfucking Mac.
It was your spirit animal, I feel.
I'm pretty sure she died in 1991, and I was reborn as Mrs. Mac. So, we'll talk about her a little later, but I have several reasons to love Mrs. Mac.
She's a vibe for sure. She's just returned home from shopping. They present her with a Christmas gift, and it's like this frilly nightgown. She pretends to like it, but makes sarcastic remarks about it and the girls themselves while she's alone. But actually, also to their face, she's just like mumbling this whole time.
And she's like, it's weird because you're playing it as you're whispering, but you're definitely just insulting these people out loud. Like you're not being sly or slick at all.
And that's one of the things. Like, there's certain people in this world, and for me, it's been like black girls. It's been like two or three different black girls that I've met, where they can insult you to your face, and you will laugh at it because it's so fucking funny, and it's so like it's disarming because nobody tells the truth, but they tell you the truth with a smile, and you laugh.
There was one day in particular where I was wearing like a yellow, white, and black shirt, and a girl told me, I don't know how you look like a bumblebee and a sunflower at the same time. And I was incredibly insulted, but also I was like, I don't know either. You're right.
You're like, we're best friends now. Yeah.
And I haven't worn yellow for years because of that.
That's why you don't like the 70s. This is a therapy session for you.
Thank
Anthony.
you. You unzipped me.
So then Mrs. Mack goes to the library and is looking for a book.
The best book. Now, first of all, you don't need to be looking like you know where it's at.
Yeah.
And also, you cut the book to fit that bottle. You know where the book is. I don't need all this play bullshit. Like, you're an alcoholic. Get to your stuff.
She's like, I feel like this is a game for her. She's playing around because she takes sips and she just dances and, like.
Now, she was thoroughly enjoying herself every time she took a drink. And I don't know who I am as a person, but I've not felt joy like that in a while. Because when she takes a drink, it's like, like I was like, do I like Sherry? Because you look like you're having a good time.
Yeah, Mrs. Mack is one of my favorite characters from the movie. Her and Barb, like neck and neck, I think.
Yes. I mean, for me, who's drinking on the podcast, who likes the alcoholic characters? Oh, big news, big shocking book. Like,
so she takes a secret drink and then does a little shimmy. Love it. And then while this is happening, we see the shadow of the killer as he carries Claire up into the attic. We then see the attic trapdoor close. It's a very cool scene that also reminds me of when Michael Myers was carrying Annie Brackett into the house from the garage in the shadows. So again, we can see Carpenter taking some influence here.
That's really cool.
So Jess also gets a phone call from her boyfriend, Peter, played by Keir Dullea, who was 38 years old at the time.
Yeah, and he looked it.
He's an aspiring concert pianist.
Mm-hmm.
So she seems tense and wants to talk to Peter about something important. She says she'll see him tomorrow at the rehearsal studio. He says, I love you. And she says, I know. Fucking devastating.
Fuck off.
The international sign for this ain't what you thought it was.
Yeah. And I'm going to get into it a little bit later, but this right here, this exact interaction and the next one we see between her and Peter are the exact reasons why I know she knows what she's doing. She knows there's a situation that she needs to escape. and she's the baddest bitch.
Right. She's doing what we don't what we were saying that earlier, that they're not doing what's in their best interest,
Mm-hmm.
but Jess is actively trying to do that, and she's getting
100.
and this society that she lives in, and unfortunately doesn't allow her to do it.
Mm-hmm. All that.
So while brushing her teeth, Mrs. Mack fishes for another bottle out of the toilet tank in her bathroom as well.
Now this is where she
I,
lost points for me
the
because
water, Anthony, the water is clean up there. It's not dirty till it goes down.
no, no,
I
no.
wish y'all could see Anthony's face right now.
That shit was brown, murky, darker than me. And she's pulling a bottle out of there and drinking from it and still doing her little dance. You're weird. I still like you, but I don't fuck with you.
You wouldn't kiss her. You probably wouldn't take a sip from her bottle, but you
I
still
mean, but
fuck
I
with her.
would pour it in a glass. So,
Yeah, that's true.
so that's the thing that, like, listen, if you're gonna be an alcoholic, just be one, because we all know there's no
Don't hide
hiding.
it.
You can't hide alcoholism, even if you put it in the toilet, a book, a shoebox. We know, we smell it. You're rinsing your mouth with sherry, honey. Like, you're not trying to hide it. Maybe from yourself, but not from us.
Like, yeah, like I could imagine the girls like finding empty bottles all over the house because she hides them all over the house. You know.
And some of them are empty. So the
Yeah,
girls have definitely come across some empty bottles and not knowing, like, hey, what's this?
because when Mrs. Mack finds an empty bottle, she doesn't throw it away. She just puts it back right where she found it.
She's annoyed that she saw it. She leaves it there.
Yeah. So Jess goes to check on Clara, but gets no reply from her room. We then see Claire up in the attic with the plastic bag over her face, her eyes wide open, but she's dead. And Billy, well, the killer right now, we haven't figured out, but his name is Billy, is rocking her in the rocking chair while saying a nursery rhyme. This little fucking nursery rhyme was so fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
Goes, little baby bunting, daddies went to hunting, gonna fetch a rabbit skin to wrap his baby Agnes in. So the expression bunting is a term of endearment that may also imply plump. So like a chubby little baby, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And a version of the rhyme was first published in 1731 in England. So it's a popular English language nursery rhyme and lullaby. I'd never heard of it before. It's creepy. I find a lot of English things creepy just because, like a little English child, like I did The Omen a couple weeks ago. Fuck that little kid. Fuck them kids. It's
uh,
creepy. I don't like it.
just real quick, fuck Damien and
Fuck
them.
Damien. Fuck Damien them.
Yeah. And his family. Uh, fuck the devil. But also, if the devil wants to hit me up, we'll fuck the devil.
So there's a great haunting image of Claire with her bag over her face and being dead with eyes wide open, and the image fades into a clock tower. So the next day, Claire's father, played by James Edmund, is waiting for her, but she doesn't show up. While waiting,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this right here, this is the exact moment the only two black people in the movie show up, and they are the best dressed people in the entire movie. Drip down, most stylish. They look like they're having the most fun. Honestly, I was not bored, but they looked like they were having so much fun. I wanted to know what they were doing.
were they just in the background or something?
Oh yeah, they were just walking. Literally from like this point to this point, and it was like
Yeah.
they were in there for a total of about 4 seconds.
But see, that's I understand where you're coming from because as a person of color, you're always looking for somebody who looks like you in a horror movie. And when you find it in the most like random scenes or ways, you're like, oh yes, yes, and you hold on to that.
Yes.
But if you think about it, it's so ludicrous that we have to like
Mm-hmm.
be happy that there's two people of color in the background serving looks and that's what
For
you latched onto,
for
you know?
seconds, mere
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah, it's fucking. I'm glad that they're there, and I love that. but I wish it wasn't the case. Like I
I
wish
agree.
they were fucking starring in the
Like
movie.
there
You know
could
what I'm
have been a
saying?
black there could have been a black girl in the sorority. There could have
Yeah,
been a black guy who was one of the boyfriends. Like absolutely, but they do is, oh, you're in the background. Like,
yeah. And I bet they probably weren't even paid extras. They were just like random people
yeah,
walking in the background that they caught.
I'm actually quite
Because
certain that's the case.
yeah. So well, that's. Thank you for showing me that because I was like, yeah, I don't see another black person, another person in the movie.
I will say they're the only black people,
Yeah,
but it's like Leonardo DiCaprio meme. I see
yeah.
you.
But that's why representation matters.
Like you said
So
with Miguel in Cannibal Holocaust,
yeah,
representation
exactly.
matters in
Every
any
time I hear
form.
my name in a movie, I'm like, oh shit.
Right.
So, so the next day, Claire's father, played by James Edmund, is waiting for her, but she doesn't show up. While waiting, some badass motherfucking kids throw a snowball at his face, which knocked his glasses off.
I
I know
have
you don't have to wear glasses, but if you fuck with my glasses, bro, it's over for you.
okay, so I have to ask: is it a thing when your glasses get knocked off that you immediately drop to your knees and start touching the ground? Full
Do the
Velma.
Velma?
Yeah,
Velma.
I can't see without my glasses. I mean, clearly you don't know how to act either. But like,
I am blind. I am blind without him. So I would probably be like, first of all, I'd be crying. Second of all, I'd be like, yeah, I would probably do the same thing.
oh, okay, so okay, just drop down, like start
Yeah.
feeling around.
I drop down, get my eagle on, bro. Like I'm fucking looking for these fucking glasses.
I guess that's just because like I'm not dropping to my knees in public. I'm sorry. I've done that in private too many times. I'm not doing that in public. Like, uh, like I'm not giving anybody the ammo.
I'm down there, but like, step bro, stop,
Right.
step bro.
I'm stuck.
I'm stuck.
But no, yeah. So okay, because I saw that and I was like, you're clearly an educated man. And to get hit in the face and the first thing you do is drop to your knees and act like you don't know what's what. This isn't the first time you've lost your glasses. What's going on here?
You just like revert to childhood. You're like, no, the bullies are gonna beat me up. That's not.
I'm surprised he didn't say there was time now. It's not fair.
Wow, sick Twilight reference. I love it. Twilight Zone. Hell yeah. Well, I'm with my people right now. Thank you very much. I'm having a blast, man. This is
Same.
great. Yeah. So actually, I was gonna say like, so he gets this glasses knocked off of his face with these snowballs. Snowballs to the face ain't no joke, right? Like, if you have any experience with this, Anthony, this shit is not fun.
Okay.
I was gonna tell like growing up, we grew up in Chicago, and one year when it was snowing, me and my brother skipped school and we went home, and we were home early enough to see the garbage man. We had alleyways in Chicago. I don't know if you know about alleyways, but like in between, yeah. So everyone knows that. Okay, cool. So we had alleyways, and they were out there in the back collecting the garbage, and me for just some fucking reason, I picked up made a snowball and threw it at the garbage man.
You.
Got him right in the fucking face. Me and my brother laughed and we ran back into the house. The garbage man like jumped the fence and we're like pounding on the door trying to get in. They couldn't get in. He finally picked up this bowl, this like, so we had shoveled the sidewalk. So there was like these big old ice boulders, right? Like it got really cold in Chicago. He picked up this ice boulder, threw it at the window, broke the fucking glass. We're like, holy shit. Then we had to explain that to my dad. My dad's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're like, Dad, we're not lying. I know we've broken windows in the past, but we're serious. He went to the cops. The cops didn't believe him. We got our asses whooped. Moral of the story, do not throw snowballs.
As well you should have. As well you should have.
He got us with the belt, bro. We got our asses whooped. It was fucked up.
I don't advocate for the beating of children's asses, but you got what was coming to you. Don't fuck with the garbage man. Come on, this guy deals with trash all day, literally trash. Yeah, you were fucking with the wrong one. This guy just wants to make he just wants to make the world a better place.
I just want you to know that I don't do that anymore. I actually tip my garbage people. The garbage people, nope. Garbage men. Garbage Sanitation workers. Sanitation
Well,
workers.
I identify as a garbage person, so I no.
And you get tips all the time, so you're good, bro. Let's go. Oh man. All right. Done. Dead.
I'm
All right.
dead. DED dead.
So all of a sudden, like this adult apologizes for the kids, and he says, "I should have been looking after them better," but he does it in a very dickish manner. He's like, "I'm sorry," and the father's like, "Oh, I don't remember what he said, but he's like, "Well, I already apologized." Like, dude, calm the fuck down. So the father asks him where the sorority house is, and the guy helps him.
Well, the thing is, he's asking where his daughter is,
Right?
and
Yeah.
that's what's weird. It's like you don't know. Why is a stranger supposed to know? So that whole exchange was incredibly weird. Like, why are you looking to strangers to find out where your daughter is?
Right. This is like that pre-cell phone era where like if you say you're gonna meet somebody at like in Chicago, we would always meet under the clock tower, the JC no the fuck Marshall Field's clock. That was a very specific iconic thing in Chicago that you would meet people at. And then if they're 45 minutes late, like, you just fucking stuck there.
But this guy's looking for his daughter. You shouldn't have questions about where your daughter is.
Like you should know where she lives.
At least, at least. Like if your friends don't meet with you at the same place at a certain time, yeah, sure. Honestly, we understand some of our friends are shitty people, so like they're not going to be here on time. But like looking, like for me, if I'm looking for my niece somewhere and she's a minute late, I'm freaking out and I'm thinking, how did I fuck up? So like if it was my daughter, hey boy, you know where my girl is? What? How dare you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he should be able to at least get her. So at the sorority house, the fashion icon is dressed as Santa Claus, and they're doing this charity thing for kids, and Santa's being very naughty. He's swearing in front of the kids.
Ho
He's
ho
making
ho!
them
Fuck.
fuck.
What?
I love it.
Santa.
So finally, the dad looks for his daughter at the sorority house. He's shocked by the sexually suggestive posters he finds in her room. And then there's one of grandma, an older woman giving the finger, which I love. And then he's also surprised that she has a boy's photo next to her bed, her boyfriend Chris. And then there's also, did you notice that there's all these pictures of open flowers in her room, suggesting
Yes.
female sexuality, as in the pictures of Georgia O'Keeffe.
Now
So
you.
like, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I noticed that subtly they're pointing to this female sexuality that the father is very dismissive of and
Mm-hmm.
even angry. He even says,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like send my wife, I didn't send my daughter to school to be, cavorting with boys
Yeah.
or something like that.
Okay, and you know what? Based on that, like, there's something. Okay, in my mind, there's something about this movie. Well, there's something about this group of girls that makes me think witches, or there's something LGBT going on. And like a lot of these girls don't read as straight, not to me. So I wonder, just in my head, like, is this maybe the like lesbian friendly sorority or what's going on? Because like maybe I just don't understand intimacy because like they're really close. So it could be that too. But it's
Well,
just like,
later on in the movie, when Barb is fucking drunk as fuck, she's actually looking at a Playboy magazine.
yes, no,
So
it's a play girl. Well, no, it is a
no,
Playboy.
it's a
Playboy.
Playboy, yeah, because
Yeah,
there's naked women in it, and
like just
actually
like nothing. Like she's reading the
the
paper.
and the director stated that she was coded as bi.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's
So I like,
definitely LGBT vibes in there. Maybe
yeah,
QIA
exactly.
perhaps.
Yeah, you caught it. You caught those vibes.
I was like, hey, all of you aren't straight. And you're not acting like you are either. Okay. Okay.
So Mr. Harrison, Claire's father, seems to blame Mrs. Mack for the permissive attitude in the house. Mrs. Mack assures him that Claire is a good girl and that she's probably at one of the fraternity houses visiting Chris. Mr. Harrison offers to drop Mrs. Mack off at the store on his way there. In her room, Mrs. Mack is mumbling to herself, and she says, "These broads would hump the Leaning Tower of Pisa
He's
if
they
they
could
could."
get onto.
Yeah.
Which I was like, how are you me and judging me at the same time?
It's like I love the way she is with the father. Like she's like hiding she's got her hand over like the
Hmm.
naked peace sign, and she's blocking all the shit. I just love her energy. And she's even like talks back to him a little bit. And as we're going to say here, before they leave, Mrs. Mack hears Claude meowing but cannot find him because he's in the attic. She gives the dad the finger as well, which I fucking love.
To me, that's totally like an alcoholic thing when you talk shit to somebody when they aren't around and you're just like, fuck off. And then they catch. All I'm saying is I know how Mrs. Mack felt about that dad and she wasn't here for it. So the instant she got a chance, the bird, like, fuck off.
We also get another shot of them from the attic leaving the house. Then it zooms out and we see Claire again, dead in the plastic bag. That visual is haunting, and I think they even use it on the poster, which is a little
Hmm.
spoilery, but it's great.
They use it at the end. They use it throughout the entire
Yeah,
movie.
I mean, I don't blame them. It's an amazing shot, you know.
And to me, it's like it's cold, so this body is fine. Like it's not decomposing. It literally
Right.
looks just like that. So it's like
Yeah, because
terrifying.
it's in an attic. An attic isn't heated or anything like that.
Hmm.
So Jess visits Peter while he is practicing for a very important audition, and she breaks some news to him. She's unexpectedly pregnant. Peter thinks it's good news, but Jess admits that she wasn't even going to tell Peter about it. Jess intends to get an abortion. Peter is adamantly opposed to this and makes an ominous threat against Jess for even considering such a thing. And I feel like right here they're trying to set Peter up as the killer, but obviously we know he's not.
Do we know that?
Well, I think at this point we don't know. You're right, right.
Okay, because I just want to say like I said, I don't exaggerate. I'm very black and white. Fuck Peter. um,
Yeah.
I actually let me read the note that I have. This was the note that you saw me writing.
Okay.
I love how Peter is wearing green while being the personification of a red flag. And
Yeah.
like, and this is okay. This is actually what I also want to talk about how Jess is just ultimately one of the most baddest bitches because she's like, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to have an abortion. And also in 1974, I believe this is when women were allowed to finally establish their own line of credit without a man's signature. Like you don't have to be married or your father doesn't have to sign for you. So like the energy that I saw was like, fuck you, Peter. I'm getting a bank account and an abortion. Because honestly,
Yeah.
this guy displays so many red flags. Like she even says, "I didn't want to tell you," and we have to understand as people, she knows why she shouldn't have told him because he's reacting in a way that's not normal. That's not cool. It's like, oh, you're gonna have an abortion and you didn't ask me about it. The fuck are you pregnant? Why do I have to ask you about it?
Yeah.
There's no baby growing in your stomach, and so I think this is where we fully see that Jess is the most powerful character in this movie. And like she's not gonna do anything just because a fucking man wants her to. And it's like, as well you should. As well you should.
And also, this came out only a year after Roe v. Wade, where abortion
Oh,
became legal in the United States.
okay.
So,
And when it was directed, I'm sure that was the year.
yeah, exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
In production, it was probably the year up. Yeah, Jess is a fucking feminist icon here. Like, she's saying, this isn't a conversation.
Oh no. I'm letting you know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and that's it. And that was just a courtesy, right?
Mm-hmm. That was for your male ego to let you know what's happening. Because I don't want to leave you in the dark. Like,
Barb is at the fraternity house with Phil's boyfriend, who is dressed like Santa and taking photos of small children. Barb has a bottle of wine and is getting drunk, and she gives one of the children sips of her alcohol.
Barb is Mexican because that's a thing.
Yeah. So she's like, "Oh, I think this little one's snookered." It's like, okay, Barb.
Hey, this little kid got fucked up. What the hell? Barb, that
She's
was
got
you.
fucking drinking buddies with a fucking 7-year-old, you know?
You gotta make them young. Drinking
That's
buddy for
right.
life.
Mr. Harrison phones home and assures his wife that they will find Claire, and if not, he'll call the police. And I was just thinking, like this world before cell phones, where nobody could get in contact with you if you weren't at home. Like we were saying earlier, I could just imagine how the parents feel. Like nowadays, if you just maybe your phone's dead and you can't get in contact with somebody, they don't automatically assume you're dead, but or you've gone kidnapped. But in this world in which you had to be where you said you were going to be, otherwise people would be worried.
Hmm.
These parents must be fucking going through it right now. So back at the sorority house, Jess receives another obscene phone call. This one is more elaborate. The killer speaks in several different voices and makes references to Agnes and Billy. He also seems to be speaking in the voices of two adults, presumably the parents of Agnes and Billy. The voice even seems to overlap at times, like we said earlier,
Hmm.
adding to the unsettling effect. Jess is upset, especially after her confrontation with Peter. So the director Bob Clark worked out a backstory for Billy. He says he was abused as a child, locked in the attic, and eventually killed his parents. The Agnes he keeps referring to was his little sister, whom he tried to kill, but she escaped, giving Billy his dislike of girls. And I think this storyline was actually used in the 2006 remake.
Okay. I haven't seen any of them.
Yeah, I haven't seen them. I haven't even seen the newest one that came out. So
I wanted to because I just like assumed they'd add something to it. But I was like, you know what? Let me keep my take solely focused on 74.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have no problem with remakes, but I would always caution people to see the original first, so you can see
Yeah,
where it's coming
exactly.
from. So, in order to raise more suspicion for Peter possibly being the killer, Billy, played by Nick Mancuso, who voices Billy, overdubbed six of Peter's lines of dialogue in the movie. So when Peter is talking in the movie, six of his lines are actually said by Nick Mancuso. So that's more of them trying to fuck with us to think that Peter may be the killer. I thought that was really cool.
You know what? That's like it's it's kind of interesting that they put that much work into it when like we literally only see one person's pair of hands the entire movie. It's like you're trying to throw me off, but like you're telling me what's going on at the same time.
Yeah, I didn't think they made the connection there. They didn't make the connection as strongly as that they wanted to, but I appreciate that level of detail going into it.
True, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It kind of feels like in Friday the 13th when we only see the killer's hands, but they're all hairy.
yeah.
Like, okay, so it's a man, but you're telling me it's a woman.
Right, but like in this case, like you're showing me the same pair of hands. It's them. Like it's
Yeah, I see it.
we only see one pair of hands the entire movie.
So next we see Phyllis, the curly hair queen, and Barb. They take Mr. Harrison to the police station to report Claire missing. This fucking officer on duty, Sergeant Nash.
Bullshit.
Yeah, this is like the epitome of um, patronizing fucking prick,
I
Sergeant
feel like
Nash.
when we talk about cops aren't shit, he's the guy who comes to mind. Like this guy is so not on it. It's like, oh, you're clearly collecting a check. I'm sorry I talked to you.
Nash tells Mr. Harrison that he's sure Claire is just somewhere with Chris. It's like, okay, fucking asshole. Like basically, you're telling this father that his daughter is out fucking
Fucking.
yeah, basically fucking. So don't worry about it. She'll show up, you know. But that's I'm a fan of My Favorite Murder. Do you listen know about
Yes, yes, I
okay.
love them.
Yeah, so in almost every one of these episodes, when they're talking about killers from the 60s and 70s, it's always whenever somebody goes missing, they always say, "Well, the girl probably ran away, or she went with her boyfriend or something like
It's a
that."
shitty cop saying that. It's not a concerned citizen. It's not the parent. It's always some cop who doesn't want to just do their job. It's like, well, they probably ran off. If
Yeah,
you don't get the fuck off your ass and look for my fucking missing child, like what the fuck?
and it's like even if that was the case, maybe it was the case 2 out of 10 times, 3 out of 10 times. It doesn't
Right.
matter. There's still those other times in which it's not the case. So do your fucking job.
Exactly.
You know.
I'm sorry. You know, far be it for me to tell a cop what their job is, but I kind of think looking for a missing person is one of them.
So I mean, it is a cab all day on this podcast.
Right. Yeah,
So
I know. Over here too.
yeah.
A
So
C A B.
so back at the sorority house, Jess tells Mrs. Mack about the obscene phone call. Mrs. Mack tells Jess that Claire's missing. So Jess goes to see Chris while he's at hockey practice. Chris is fucking furious when Jess tells him that the police aren't taking it seriously because they think that she's shacked up somewhere with him. So this is the scene that I fucking love.
Okay.
So Sergeant Nash asks Barb for the phone number at the sorority house.
This was what we talked about earlier, where this director injects comedy into his movies, and this is the exact scene that I had in mind. Go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, because well, do you want to explain what happens here?
Nope. You're gonna do it better.
So she tells him. So he asks for the phone number, and she tells him it's Fellatio 20880. And Nash doesn't understand what she's saying. Kind of looks at her and he's like, "Yeah. It's a new exchange. FE." she
Fe.
explains. Who apparently doesn't know the meaning of the word fellatio in more ways than one, and then writes it down and thanks her. And what I love about this joke is that it pays off later.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing. This in and of itself is fucking hilarious, but when it pays off later, it's fucking glorious.
So like,
Yeah.
here's my thing. Like, I'm a science bitch. So if somebody told me Fe, I'm like, oh, iron. Yeah, cool.
Iron,
Yeah, okay, cool. Fellatio.
fellatio.
I don't know how that translates to Fe iron, but you know what? Fe iron, got it. And I'm totally the fucking moron who would be fooled by that. Like,
You're like, yeah, I got it, fellatio. Let's go.
fellatio? Oh, is that Italian? I love that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
like,
I don't know her, you know.
like, yeah. So no, like, I'm the kind of person, like, when I hear a word I don't know, I was like, oh, cool, fellatio.
Cool. Play it off.
Yeah, I had the same experience with like cunnilingus, and I didn't know what that meant, like as a gay man. So when yeah, I just relate.
What was the word that you posted the other day? The male clit, the blit. I love the blit. Loving the blit.
Blitter. Disgusting. Okay.
So Peter performs his audition and fails miserably, and he's distraught about the news that Jess has given him. The
Hey, I'm
instructor,
sorry. Can I interrupt you real quick?
yeah,
Was he
let's
playing
call him
good?
Peter, huh?
Was he
no,
playing?
no, he was playing terribly. He was playing terribly.
Because okay, I just because I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, I've heard some weird jazz before, but this isn't.
No,
Okay,
no, he was playing terribly, and
he
like
was
it was
fucking
getting
up.
recorded. He was missing notes, and the other instructor's like, "Who the fuck is
All
this?"
right, and they were just being stoic about it. They were like, this guy's weird.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, but I definitely think they're giving him some stank faces. Like, what the
yeah,
fuck?
okay. Because the whole time I'm like, Peter, I didn't like you. I didn't like who you were as a person. Now I don't like you as an artist.
They were definitely like, whose man's is this?
Exactly. Okay. You're like, come get your friend. Okay.
Yeah. So the instructors who listen to the recital are shocked that he cannot seem to hit the right notes. So Chris and Jess appear at the police station, and Chris angrily lashes out at Sergeant Nash for having a big mouth, meaning his suggestion that Claire was shacked up with him. I love this because he's fucking yelling at that. He just bursts into the police station and is like, "You fucking asshole! Watch your fucking mouth." I love it. I love the attitude.
Exactly.
So this is where when we're introduced to Lieutenant Fuller, who's John Saxon. He overhears and becomes interested in the case because he's already talking to another mom about her missing 13-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So, but even here, John was like, I'm sorry, Lieutenant Fuller was asking the mom, "Is it possible that she just went somewhere else?" And it's like, come on, sir. She's a 13-year-old woman, or sorry, 13-year-old
Girl.
girl, and her mom is saying that she's missing. That's all you need to know. There's no other follow up questions. Like now we need to get the manhunt going. But that's this attitude they had in the '70s,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
great.
I like. I know now this isn't the case, but I was wondering when I heard the first phone call. Hey, is that who's getting murdered? I know now it's not the case, but it's like I do feel like though her murder was a phone call, and we just don't know which one it was because it happened so closely to the sorority murders.
Right, and as we get further on, we start to notice that every time the killer kills somebody, he places a phone call,
Mm-hmm.
and so this comes to it comes to uh, what's the word I'm thinking of? We'll see this happening later on in the movie, and it happens to somebody at the end, and we're not quite sure. It's kind of left up to the audience,
Mm-hmm.
but I love it. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll get there. So it seems that Chris is a townie who knows Lieutenant Fuller, so he takes the case more seriously, which is great on one hand, but on the other hand, I shouldn't have to be a fucking townie. I shouldn't have to have a personal relationship with you for you to take this shit seriously. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
I guess that's just the thing about townies. They get first class access to police.
Yeah, that's everybody says that. That's everybody says that.
Everybody knows that about townies.
So Mr. Harrison has dinner with Phil, Barb, and Mrs. Mack at the sorority house, but Barb is fucking blasted, wasted out of her mind. This fucking scene.
Hey, I don't think she was acting. I think she was drunk. Because there's a point where you see the disappointment in her eyes. Acting can't do that. Drinking heavily and making a fool of yourself does. And so, like, there's some scenes in that argument where I know she's not acting and I know she was totally wasted.
Like Margot Kidder, the performance she gives in this movie, fucking top notch,
Mm-hmm.
and she's stunning. She's gorgeous to look at. She's beautiful and everything in her outfits she has on. I love the choker vibe, giving that off. The sexual revolution, like she's like she knows what she's saying with it. Love it, love it. So Barb's fucking wasted, and she asks the dad if he knows that there's a species of turtles that can get it in,
Get it in!
which is the sea turtle, by the way.
Tortoise?
Yeah, 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 maybe tortoise. So she says she's lucky if she can get 3 minutes.
I mean, girls say, like, girl. Barb.
Hey, hey, hey. Let's not. 3 minutes is 3 minutes. There's a lot of hard work put into those 3 minutes.
I'm sorry.
There's sweating involved in there.
Not on me.
I'm a power bottom. Like I'm done. 3 minutes, good.
Whew. Barb. I'd be lucky if I got 3 seconds. I'm sorry. We're talking about what?
Yeah.
Slumber Party Massacre? No, I'm kidding.
So then, my question to you is she suggesting that Claire is somewhere having sex with the dude, and that explains why she's been gone for so long? So she's saying that to her dad? Like, that's fucked up.
Oh, okay. So I kind of just interpret it as like she's drunk as fuck.
That's how, yeah. But like Barb always, like you said, when there's an insult, there's always a second, third, or fourth layer to the insults. That I was like, is that? You know?
I think could be, but I do think this. Okay, So we know that Claire has been drinking. Not Claire. I'm sorry. We know that Barb has been drinking, but also we know that she's been on the couch looking at a Playgirl, a Playboy magazine. So like she's literally just
Oh,
been getting drunk, minding her own business. So like when someone or when she feels that she's dragged into someone else's bullshit,
yeah.
it's like, well, I'm going to tell you X, Y, Z. I literally just think she was being a drunk mess.
Yeah, Barb is definitely down bad right now. She's
Yeah,
like
and
she's
like
like looking at the Playboy magazine. Like there's
like in
people in the
in
room.
public, you're in the
Yeah.
living room. This is where people eat dinner.
You should have that magazine by your computer with your lotion,
Like
you
in
know?
your let me nourish. I'm gonna
Yeah.
nourish.
Oh, I mean, she was ashy. She's ashy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. But I just feel like no. I just think she would have been a drunk mess. I don't think there was anything deeper to it, especially because, like I said, I don't think she was acting. And like for me, you can especially, I especially think she wasn't acting when Phil said, "Barb, you're drunk. Go to bed." And the level of like hurt and terror in Barb's eyes was like, "Oh, I should go to
Yeah.
bed." I don't think you can act that. I don't know. You've been to the clubs. You know what it's like to be drunk.
It's that hurt, that feeling of hurt when you're like, you thought you were just messing around. You thought everybody was having the same level of good time that you're having. Then when you're
Mm-hmm.
snapped to the realization that you're acting a fool, then
Yep.
you're like, let me go lay my ass
Like,
down.
oh.
Because her Phil is her road dog. Phil was like
Mm-hmm.
with her. She was down with her to go skiing.
Throughout
So if your
everything.
road dog's like, yo, you're being real fucking messy right now, go lay down. She's like, okay. At least she still has that level of self awareness
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
she's like, okay, I need to go lay my ass down. Because some messy bitches don't have that level of
And that's me.
awareness. It's like,
Recording a podcast right now.
but Barb feels guilty because she was careless with Claire, and she thinks that others are blaming her for Claire's disappearance.
And that's weird. Where did
Uh,
that come from?
that's that that's that anxiety kind of like coming in along with
Mm-hmm.
the alcoholism. You think,
Right.
but it's also a little bit of
So that
selfishness.
so there were no like external sources. It's
No,
like, hey,
no,
this is all you.
that's all self internalized.
Okay.
Because but it's also like possibly narcissistic,
Mm-hmm.
turning something that's obviously about somebody else into something about you and turning all the attention on you. It's like now's not the time, Barb. This isn't about you. So I
Right.
think that's where that was coming from
Like
a
no
little
one's
bit.
talking about you. Okay, cool.
So Barb goes upstairs and leaves them alone. Later, Peter destroys his piano after his audition, which is implying to us his state of mind.
Fuck Peter. I'm so over. Oh my god.
So meanwhile, Jess and Chris come back to the house and tell the others about Janice Quaif's disappearance, who's the 13-year-old. A search is underway, and Phyllis and Mr. Harrison join them. Mrs. Mack tells them that she's leaving for her sister's house and may not be there when they return. After Jess leaves, Mrs. Mack packs her bags, and we see another shot of Claire in the attic with Claude the cat licking the bag and her face.
And another
Uh,
bottle of sherry.
and another bottle of sherry. Yeah. And they had to put catnip on the bag so that the cat would actually lick the bag. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Mrs. Mack calls a cab, but she's distracted by the sounds from the attic. The killer lures her into the attic by making sounds like the cat. He's meowing. After Mrs. Mack opens the attic door, she sees Claire's dead body. Then she turns around and she sees the killer, who swings a large hook at her. That hook is designed to pull things up into the attic. So the hook impales her under the chin and hangs her. That kill is so fucking great, and it's not even bloody. This whole movie isn't bloody at all.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
It's just the implied violence, which I love.
I'm just kind of wondering, like, how don't you dodge that? I'm just saying, a big hook coming at my face. I can move to the side a little. I don't know about her. I don't know
Yeah.
what things were like in the 70s because I hate them. We've discussed. Maybe things were different back then, but
Yeah, she could have. She should have been. She wasn't a professional boxer, Anthony. She wasn't like bobbing and weaving.
I'm just saying, as an alcoholic, I expect more of her. She should know how to,
That is true. She's probably gotten into her fair share of like drunken brawls, right?
with as much shit as she talks.
Exactly.
I wouldn't wear this if my liver was out. Excuse you? I bought you a dress for Christmas and you're talking shit? No. Trust me. If she doesn't know how to bob and weave, why you're the house mother? You're the house mother and you can't fight? That makes no sense.
That part. R.I.P. Mrs. Mack. You know, you were a real one. Moment of silence.
R.I.P.
So the cabbie has been waiting. He's been honking his horn. Finally, the cabbie makes like a tree and scrams. So Billy, yeah, I had to bring that joke back.
He put an egg in his shoe and beat it.
Yo, I think Travis would love those. So Billy starts his screaming thing. He's really unsettling, and he's rocking Claire in the chair again as he does, and he's like making a mess, like hitting all the cages, like hitting just a bunch of stuff up in the attic. And it kind of reminded me of Bubba from Texas Chainsaw Massacre when he does his squealing thing and he's doing all that. That's what kind of reminded me of.
Yeah. Okay, I can totally see that.
All right, so we're back. We're in the park. There's an extensive search for the 13-year-old girl. They find her body, the body of Janice Quaife. Jess rushes back to the house where she receives another frightening phone call from the killer. Again, he uses multiple voices and reenacts some weird scenario involving Naughty Billy and Baby Agnes. After unsuccessfully finding Mrs. Mack in the house, Jess calls the police to report the obscene phone calls, which is, I'm like, great, good job.
Finally.
Yes. As she talks to Sergeant Nash, a figure approaches her from behind and startles her. It is fucking Peter, who has been napping in the house while waiting for Jess to return. So, first of all, who let him in?
Okay.
So he doesn't have a key. So then that means you guys left the door open a fucking again. Like, and then who just goes into somebody's house and then takes a fucking nap?
And based on Jess's reaction, you're not allowed to snap here.
Right.
So we shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Yeah, this Peter sucks. Like,
honestly, fuck Peter. Worst character in the movie, and we've been let known he was a piece of shit from the get go. So,
and that's saying something because there's also Sergeant Nash. So
I mean, he's a dumb bitch, but
yeah.
Peter is an asshole. Fuck Peter.
So she calls the police and she's talking to Sergeant Nash.
Fellatio.
So while she's talking to Peter, she's telling him what's happening, that the child was kidnapped and then killed. Peter decides, fuck all that, let's get married. And it's like, a child just died, Peter, and you decide that this is the best time to propose?
Now, I have some notes on this section. Please. Because the audacity. Peter said
the caucasity.
Caucasity. Because Peter literally said, I've lived in one room for 8 years. I have to line up behind 6 people if I want to take a shower. And if I was Jess, my thought was, I'm sorry, Peter. I don't know what that's got to do with me. But now I have to marry you? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you were living in the same room for 8 years. Peter, that's a you problem. Don't make me try to have your baby because you're upset with how your life has gone. And to me, this is another instance in where Jess is like literally that bitch, because she tells him, hey, remember when we first met? I told you there are things that I want to do, and I still want to do those things. And now I understand that she said be realistic, but what she really said was, be realistic, you stupid fucking sack of shit. And Peter, go fuck off, because I'm not about to have your baby because your life hasn't gone right.
There's so much going on here. I'm glad that you brought all that stuff up, because yes, this is 2 dudes talking about it, right? So So if I'm saying something wrong, please let me know in the comments or whatever. But I feel like this is deeply feminist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she's standing her ground and she's saying, I'm not. I have. You were talking about your dreams. Well, guess what? I have dreams as well. And
Mm-hmm.
just because your dreams aren't panning out doesn't mean my dreams haven't panned out.
Exactly.
I want to follow those. And then he says, you know what? You can still do that. And I just love how she sticks to her guns.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, they have this frank discussion about the roles of well, they don't have it, but we can have this frank discussion about the roles of women and men in society when it
Yeah.
comes to child raising, because unfortunately in the society women take the majority of the role in parenting,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also earn less because they've left the workforce to have
Mm-hmm.
and raise a child. So this shit is so fucking deep. This is what we were talking about, loving the horror genre, because it's not just about spookies and it's not just about
It's
killing. Um
this.
it's about this, and when they say that horror isn't political, it's always been fucking political.
Oh,
It's right there. You just don't like the politics that it's talking about.
I've seen horror directors say, "Oh, well, my movie wasn't meant to be political." Hey, but the fact that it was, understand, your work impacts more than just like what you think it's going to do. Like, if you don't think that your work is political, people can adjust your work and fit it to a political narrative. And like with this movie, I don't think they were talking about abortion. I don't think they were talking about women's rights. But here is this woman, Jess, being like, I'm gonna get an abortion and like you can fuck off because I don't want this and I don't like this and I don't need to deal with this. And I think that because I hate the 70s, this being stands the test of time. Like, don't let a man tell you what you have to do. Don't do something because you think a man thinks it's the right choice. And also, don't do something because a man's life has gone to shit. So now he's trying to tell you what to do. Like, no, there's things that I still want to do. It's like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. Also, even when she is telling Peter like all of her feelings, and he
Hmm.
keeps trying to rebut everything, and
Yeah.
in the end, she's just like, you know what? Honestly, I just don't want to marry you. She's like, yeah, but no, yeah, but no. I'm like, I don't want to marry you, and she doesn't have to. And also, another thing that you mentioned that I wanted to address was, primarily in the past and still kind of to this day, the only way for people to kind of have upward mobility is to join incomes.
Hmm.
And so Peter wants to join his income with Jess so that they can possibly move into a house,
Hmm.
and that's just like end stage capitalism, like getting married because you have to fucking get a better life financially, because it's a better financial choice for yourself, as opposed to because you love this person.
Hmm.
It's just saying something else. Like, that's how deep that this fucking story is. It's not a superficial movie. There's so much meaning behind
Hmm.
it. Even if it wasn't the director's intention, it's there because the writing is that good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, even if this wasn't your intention, your art still makes me think about this. That means something. Like,
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie.
hmm.
So back at the station, Nash doesn't take Jess's report seriously, but Mr. Harrison is sitting near him in the police station and overhears him talking to Jess about the calls. He and Phil and Chris all tell Lieutenant Fuller about it, and Lieutenant Fuller angrily scolds Nash for being so fucking inept. Yeah, he says a high school girl has been murdered. Claire is missing, and the house where she lives has been getting obscene phone calls. And you don't think that this is important? You fucking idiot.
This goes back to what I said earlier. Don't piss him off. He'll hand you your ass.
Exactly.
Oh, so we shouldn't look at what's going on over there? I felt bad for him. That's not even my job.
Yeah, he's like, don't you think we should look into this? Like, very, very like patronizing a little bit, but he's like, yeah, I guess we should. But what I was thinking was that the dad is being way too fucking patient here. Like, I would be
Yeah.
like any other dad would like be screaming off the top of his lungs, like trying to get shit done, and the dad just kind of like he is doing things, but in a very calm manner, which you don't typically see in a movie like this, you know? And I think in the end, something happens that we finally see that the shit is finally caught up to him. But at this point, I just feel like he's being very calm.
No, I totally agree with you. Like completely subdued. Like I've lost my AirPod and had more of a reaction and had more
Yeah.
of a reaction. But this guy's daughter is missing, and he's like, "Oh no, I can't eat dinner. I'm just like I have too much to think about." What?
I kind of feel him though, because I am out of a self preservation and an optimist. I try to think on the positive things, otherwise, I will like lose it. And so I can kind of get it. I kind of feel him a little bit, but I don't think I would be as calm as he is, you know?
I mean, not if my daughter was missing.
Yeah, exactly. Yo, if my fucking dog was missing, I'd be fucking yelling at things. So, as Lieutenant Fuller is getting ready to call the sorority house, he notices the number that Barb left earlier, Fellatio 20880, and he and the other detective laugh. Amazing.
So there's one detective who is just laughter, and I love him.
Yo, like I said it, I looked it up. The guy's credit in the movie is Laughing Detective.
No! Because okay. So my initial note was I love the detective who's all laughter but no lines. But then I found out he had a line, so I changed it, and I'm like, I love Detective Laughter because he knows what's up and he's just cracking up the whole time. This is the guy who gets the joke, and I love him. Like this is the guy you want to work with.
So then the lieutenant goes to check with Nash, who explains it's a new exchange. The lieutenant says, I don't think you could pick your nose without instructions. Nash then says, oh, I know. It's something dirty, ain't it? And this sets the detective off again. He's fucking cracking up. And I'm here for it. I'm fucking cracking up with him. It's a moment of levity in this otherwise like very tense, emotional situation. So just as Peter is walking out, Phyllis arrives with Lieutenant Fuller and a phone company rep named Graham, who's going to be putting a tap on the house phone. So Fuller notices that Peter seemed angry, and he questions Jess about it. He also looks around Claire's room and asks more questions about her. Graham asks if there's another phone in the house, and Fuller tells him that it is a private line that belongs to Mrs. Mack, and that there have been no obscene phone calls on it, so there's no need to tap it. Interesting. So, well, that's going to come back. So the lieutenant asks about Barb, and they tell her that she's sleeping. And he asks if she's the one who was at the station earlier. They say yes, and he agrees that she needs to sleep it off. So even the detective is like, "Yeah, that messy bitch needs
Like
to sleep."
I'm glad she sleep.
Yeah. So Fuller tells Jess that he'll be listening in on all of her phone conversations from the station, and Graham tells her to keep the caller on the line for as long as possible so that he can trace the call.
And this is what I also hate about the 70s. What do you mean I got to keep the criminal on the line? That's my job? And like,
That's your job. You figure it out.
Oh, you didn't keep on the line long enough. Excuse you? How's that my job?
Oh, I wasn't re-traumatized long enough for you. I apologize.
I didn't let this guy assault me long enough. Okay.
So yeah, a lot of this technology is kind of frustrating because now we're like caller ID, you know. But yeah,
If that wasn't a thing.
So Fuller also the lieutenant also says that he's left an officer in a squad car outside to watch the house. After the lieutenant leaves, Phil begins crying and tells Jess that she's sure Claire is dead. Tired and emotionally exhausted, Phyllis goes to bed, and Jess waits for another call. Then we see another shot of the attic as Claire's body is being rocked, while she's also holding. Now the doll seems to be burnt, so I don't know if he did that while this has been happening, but it looks fucking creepy as fuck. And then he's also saying the nursery rhyme again, and he's crying. The actress was actually had the bag over her head. She poked a hole in the back in her mouth so that she can breathe a little bit, but she was actually wearing that bag overhead. And because she used to be a swimmer, she could hold her breath for long periods of time. So I think it added to a sense of like creepiness in that scene, you know?
Hey, you know what? Good for you. But that's hey, I'm not putting in that kind of work unless I get paid extra.
That's like Tony Todd with Candyman getting paid an additional
Hey,
$1,000
if
for
a
all
bee
those bee
stings
stings.
me, you're paying me $1,000 for sure. I'm not about to be having a bag over my head like, well, I was a swimmer. I know what's up. No, no,
Yeah.
you're paying me.
Yeah, she needs some battle pay, you know? So, meanwhile, the killer descends from the attic and goes into Barb's room and watches her sleeping. I was like, no, not Barb.
Now, I do have to say, this is one of my favorite scenes for a bunch of different reasons.
Okay.
Because I do believe that I have prophetic dreams sometimes. So,
Okay.
but also I'm asthmatic and I drink a lot. So like
Ooh.
when Barb woke up and she was like, okay, first of all, she did this. She pointed to her inhaler and didn't just grab it. Like, girl, it's right next to you. Grab your asthma puff. It's not a struggle. But also when she said like, "Oh, I had a dream. Someone was in my room and they tried to kill me." I was like, "Hey, same," because I think I dream the future too. But also as an asthmatic, when she took her inhaler, I was a little offended because I'm showing you my inhaler right now. You can't take an inhaler upside down.
Uh,
The air just doesn't. The medicine doesn't get to your lungs. So I'm like, are you lying to me or are you lying to yourself? What's going on? I don't know. So this is why I like heavily identify with Barb even later into the movie because like she's psychic, asthmatic, she's an alcoholic, she sells it like it is. Barb, I love you.
maybe she's like in It, that kid who has spray, but it's only a like psychosomatic thing. Or they could have just fucked up and they weren't paying attention. But yeah, but Jess rushes to her aid, like you were saying, and then she says that she saw a stranger coming into her room. That wasn't a nightmare, Barb. Unfortunately,
Like I wonder what that is. Like, did she wake up while she was asleep, or was it an actual dream where she thought she might die?
I, I think she actually woke up. I think she woke up, saw the person, and because she screamed right away, he hid
Oh,
because he's in the room with them when Jess rushes in there to help.
yeah.
So she actually saw the killer, but she didn't realize it because they keep their doors unlocked all the time and they trust everybody. You know.
Mm-hmm. So like her freak out was like, oh, I saw this happen. They freaked out, lost breath. Oh.
Unfortunately, Barb goes back to sleep, and Jess is distracted by a group of Christmas carolers at the front door. Fuck them kids, like I always say.
Hey, I don't understand Christmas carolers. That shit's weird. Like, don't sing outside my house.
No, no,
Uh,
thank you.
there's too much liquor in here. I don't care what's going on.
Yeah, I'll throw a snowball at those little motherfuckers. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, I'm in Arizona, so we don't have those, but it's like,
Uh,
why are you here? Okay.
so the singing masks the sounds of Barb's murder. The killer returns, and there's a great POV shot of him walking down the hall, and he's saying, "Hey, it's me, Billy. It's all right, Agnes. It's all right." And then he stabs her to death using a glass unicorn ornament near her bed.
Mm-hmm.
As he's holding this like phallic symbol above his
Mm-hmm.
head, his eyes are lit, and we see that they're brown.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter's is clear. Yeah, because earlier when they were arguing, or it might be later on when they're arguing, Peter's eyes were lit up and we see that they're blue. So to us as the audience, we know either Peter is clear or there's possibly two killers. You know, I think they're still kind of leaving it out there. You know,
The thing about me is like, I wondered, what does this mean? Because like, as a child of color, if you slightly touch someone's glass figurine, it shatters. So like, I wonder like, what are what kind of figurine do you have access to that you're literally just impaling someone in the chest? Like this really strong.
yeah, that's that good crystal.
Right.
She got money,
Like
money.
crystal. Like no. This isn't. glass. Because I'm
Yeah,
like, you're doing a lot of work. I
yeah.
don't know what that's about.
That glass was thick,
Okay,
thick,
okay.
thick boy. So once again, R.I.P. Barb, the messy god. Like we loved you, we miss you forever. And for me, I think caroling once again is responsible for death. As always, fuck caroling.
I mean, you're so distracted by this weirdo singing at your door. Why not kill someone?
So the carolers are suddenly rushed off by a concerned parent. She just found out about the murder of the little girl in the
Mm-hmm.
park. Jess hears the phone ringing, and it's the killer. So once again, he killed somebody, and then he makes a phone call. So we see this cycle again and again. And it's important to remember that because it comes back later. He wails at her in a strange voice and says, "It's just like having a wart removed," before hanging up. Jess is shocked because these are words that Peter used in private. So Nick Mancuso, who's the person who did the voice of Billy, had many techniques to make his voice sound strange, including recording his lines standing on his head to put more strain on his vocal cords. Also, I know that we just talked about My Favorite Murder. They actually covered the serial killer Paul Michael Stefani. He was the weepy voiced killer.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I already knew. I already knew what
Yeah.
you were talking about. Nope. Oh, stop me. Blah, blah, blah. I did this. Fuck off, bro. Listen, if you expect me to have any sympathy after you just killed somebody, fuck off. Fuck off.
This voice was similar to the weepy
Mm-hmm.
voiced killer
Mm-hmm.
who would call the police after committing his crimes to confess. His
Yeah.
and Billy's ramblings are similar as they were confusing and disorienting with changes in the voices, meaning that they could not be properly identified.
The biggest bitch.
However, unlike Billy, Stefani was not vulgar in his calls and was confessing to his murders. While this is happening, the phone company guy is trying to trace the call at the phone company. And I kind of like these scenes of like it makes no sense. I don't understand how he's like are you literally like are you following an occurrence? Like how I wish they explained that more, you know? It's kind of like the end of Trading Places. Like I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know how they got their money back, but they got their money back, you know? Makes no sense to me.
The thing about that is I was like, I don't care to know how that works because things don't work like that now.
Right.
Hey, so do you? So I was like, I was seeing someone struggle from point A to point B. All right, that's your
Yeah.
job. Look, I don't care.
It's kind of like in old movies when you see them wind up the car to get it started. You're like,
Even to do a phone call, just like
yeah, the rotor. Hey,
operator, please. It's like, hey, I don't have to deal with that, so I'm not even gonna try to care.
it's like sucks for you, but like I got push button start now. You know
Over
what I'm saying?
here, I'm sorry, we live in 2021. We're robots.
So Phil comes back downstairs and Jess tells her about what just happened. Phil seems to not think the killer could possibly be Peter, and neither does Jess, but she's not sure. They check and make sure that the cop is that's supposed to be there is still outside, which he is. At least the car is. So Peter himself calls then and begs Jess not to go through with the abortion. He says it like, don't kill the baby, which is his choice of word. So this conversation doesn't last long enough to trace either, but Fuller comes back and or calls Jess to ask what they're talking about. She admits to being pregnant and that Peter objects to the abortion. And Fuller seems to think that Peter could be the caller after all. Jess, however, has a revelation. Peter was here at the house with her when one of the calls came through, so it couldn't be Peter. While this conversation is happening in the background, this is where we see the shadow of the killer. It's super fucking creepy the whole time. In the back on the back wall, there's a shadow, and he's staring at him, and then he moves and walks away.
Mm-hmm,
And we were
mm-hmm.
like, "Holy shit!" It's really fucking creepy. So you should go back and look at this scene. So Fuller is still suspicious, and he requests Peter's records from the dean of admissions. Then he goes to the conservatory and finds that the piano has been violently smashed.
When I saw that scene, I'm like, why are you doing that? What's the
Which
point?
part?
When he was like wrecking the
Oh,
piano, I'm like,
yeah,
you didn't even go off like that. Like when a rock star has a good set, they'll wreck their piano. But like you
yeah,
fucked up. Why are you?
yeah. I
What's
think it
going
was more out
on?
of like frustration. Like he fucked up so bad, you know.
And it's like, you're trash. I don't like that. I don't like that I have to see you.
Yeah, he's definitely trash. Jess is convinced that she can now rule out Peter as a suspect, and both she and Phil are relieved. They have a brief laugh after they're startled by two bumbling idiots from town, some more townies, who are out looking for the killer. Phil and Jess go around the house, locking all the doors and windows when Phil goes into Barb's room. As soon as she walks in, just inside the door, we hear someone whisper, Agnes, and then the door slams shut. Again, R.I.P. the curly god Phil. Like we didn't know enough about Phil, but she was a real one. She was a down ass.
um,
Yeah.
we okay. You're right. We didn't know enough about her, but I definitely got LGBTQ vibes, and I was like, "Are you a witch or are you gay?"
It's got to
Because
be one or the other.
for sure, you're giving me something, and I don't know what.
But like her look right now, her that 70s look that she's got going on, you put that like today, like chicks are wearing that look right now. You know, women are wearing that look right now, and they look great in it.
Are they?
So, you don't like the perm? You don't like the curly perm with the tight shirt and
I mean, I have
I think
curly
she
hair.
was wearing.
I have
Yeah,
curly
yeah.
hair, so I ignore perms naturally.
Okay,
So,
that's fair.
like
I don't
when
know if that was a perm or if her hair was just natural. I think it was more natural color. Phyllis wouldn't get a perm. Phyllis, yeah.
all I'm saying is something LGBT about her, and it might be QIA. I don't know.
Jess tries to find Phyllis, but the phone rings again. It's the killer, so that means there's another murder, another call. This time, Jess keeps him on the phone long enough for Graham to trace the calls. They're coming from 6 Belmont Street, the same address as the sorority house itself. I want to know, since this is the first time you seeing this, maybe it's the first time you seeing this trope.
Mhm.
What did you think when he said this?
Okay, so like I told you, I don't like to exaggerate. I'm very black and white. But my first thought was, the calls are coming from within inside the house. Ah! That.
Yeah, all that, all that.
Yeah. Because they were, right? Did
Yeah,
I
like
did
we,
I did
yeah,
I
no, we,
did I fuck up and not understand?
no, 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 they were come from inside the house, exactly. So Nash radios Fuller with the news, and Fuller says, "Oh shit!" when he realizes that the calls are coming from the house mother's phone, the phone that they didn't tap,
Yeah.
and it's like at this point they're kind of feeding us this information because if you were kind of paying attention, you kind of already knew it. Like we know that the killer's in the house. He's not leaving the house to go make these calls. So obviously he's using a phone that's in the house, and so he's just using the house mother's phone. But I think it's news to everybody else.
Well, here's the thing though. We've only seen one pair of hands the entire movie.
Right.
And the one pair of hands that you see, it looks entirely the same. So like you've already been told who the killer is. Because there is one person in particular who focuses on their hands and they work with their hands. And so like we've already been told who the killer is.
Wait, do you think who do you think
It's Peter.
oh really? No, I think
It's
we got to talk about something.
oh, because the only hands that appear in the movie are a white man's
Uh-huh.
hands,
Uh-huh.
and the only people who like have a face to it, it's Peter's hands when he's playing piano. And like he's the weirdo at the end who like attacks Jess.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah, but
the entire movie we've been told it's him.
but the eye color doesn't match. Which was
Okay, well that's weird, but that also exists at the end after Peter is caught.
right, and then there's somebody still in the house afterwards. After
And that
Peter
doesn't
was,
make okay. Well, let me tell myself now that didn't
but
make sense to me.
yeah, but that's exactly what the filmmakers are trying to do. They're trying to throw you off. which they did. They did a good job. The lieutenant tries to radio the policeman that's parked outside the sorority house, but that cop is now dead. His throat has been slit by the killer. I was about to do the past tense of slit, which was slut, but that didn't. His throat was slut by the killer.
You're
That
talking
doesn't work.
about me. Hey, what's this
Hey,
guy's name? Throat slot? Throat slot? Let's see what's up.
uh, so Fuller then radios Nash, fucking Nash, and tells him to call Jess and warn her to get out of there without letting on that the killer's in the house.
What a
Nash,
fucking
of
moron.
course, is unable to do this. He calls Jess. When Jess tells him she's going to go upstairs to get Phyllis and Barb, Nash admits that the calls are coming from inside the sorority house itself. And to me, I'm thinking, I love you, Jess, but you dumb bitch, call them from outside of the house. Go outside and ring the doorbell. Make noise outside of the house.
No, I totally agree with you, but also with Nash, it's like, don't be a fucking moron. Just say like, hey, I'm gonna need you to go outside.
Yeah.
Talk to the sheriff or the officer and say like, hey, what's going on? Don't be like, I need you to leave, ignore everybody else, and like listen to me and only me. Like you're talking to a clear. Okay, so this guy doesn't understand. Jess is that bitch. She'll do what she wants. Don't talk to her like she's some dumb little kid. I need you to kind of trick her, like, hey, go outside and like talk to the officer and like ask him what's going on. And then when you're outside, the officer will tell you, oh yeah, the killer's in the house. I'm glad you're out here. As opposed to like trying to force her to do something.
Yeah.
Nash, fuck off.
Yeah, Nash is an idiot. Nash was basically like, bitch, the killer's in the house, run.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, let me go get my friends. No!
Yeah.
No, he was a total moron, and I truly hate him.
So the exact line, the calls are coming from inside the house, is used in the movie When a Stranger Calls from 1979 as well. Both films were inspired by the urban legend, The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs. So, this urban legend, also known as the babysitter or the sitter, is an urban legend that dates back to the 60s about a teenage girl babysitting children who receives telephone calls from a stalker who continually asks her to check the children. The basic storyline has been adapted a number of times in movies. The source of the legend is the 1950 murder of a teenage babysitter named Jeanette Christman. The legend details a teenage girl who is watching television at night while babysitting after the children have been put to bed upstairs. The phone rings. The unknown caller tells her check the children. The girl dismisses the call, but the anonymous caller dials back several times and the girl becomes increasingly frightened. Eventually, the babysitter calls the police. They trace the phone call and it's coming from inside the house and to leave immediately. She evacuates the home. The police meet her there and they find that the children have been killed and that the killer was trying to get her upstairs to kill her as well. So that's the urban legend, and that was what this movie, along with other serial killers, that's what it was based on. I love a good urban legend.
No, I do too. And like, I randomly tweet like the last line of an urban legend, like humans can link too, or and the hook was left on the side of the door, but
Uh,
also the call was coming from inside the house. It's like if you get it, you get it. But like these stories, a foundation for my horror, pretty much.
yeah, hell yeah. So Jess is terrified and she screams out for Phyllis and Barb over and over again. The house is silent. Instead of leaving, Jess gets a poker from the fireplace and goes upstairs. In Barb's room, she finds the bodies of both Phil and Barb on the bed. And I'm thinking, Halloween, anyone? Again, we can see where John Carpenter took inspiration from this movie. From the crack in the door, Jess sees the killer's eye watching her
Mhm.
as he says, Agnes, it's me, Billy. Don't tell what we did, he whispers. And that's where I said his eye is clearly brown.
Mhm.
Peter's are blue. For me, this is a tip off to both Jess and the audience that the Peter is not the killer, but I don't think she's in an emotional state to process that information.
Is it brown or is it red?
Or, brownish red, but definitely
Oh,
not
okay.
blue.
Yeah. No, you're
Yeah.
right. Not blue.
But like to me, I don't like in that situation, I don't think I could tell you what my wife's eyes color is. So I don't blame her for like. I might
Hillary,
cut that out.
we
I might
got
cut that
it.
out.
Yeah, so he definitely agreed.
Yeah, he admitted to that shit. Hang the phone up. Hang the phone up.
Okay.
So Jess slams the door on him and runs, which we love. I love to see it. Howling in rage and pain, the killer chases after her. With no time to unlock the front door, Jess heads for the cellar. The killer catches her hair as she passes the stairs, almost pulls her tracks out, but she got it good. She got a good artist. She's able to break free and bolt the cellar door behind her just in time. Eventually, the maniac stops pounding on the door and Jess hears sounds as if he's going out the front door. Unsure, she remains in the cellar. Through the basement windows, Jess can see someone prowling around the house. Unable to get into the house, the figure seems to spot Jess in the cellar, and it's Peter. He calls out to her, but Jess ignores it. Peter breaks a window and enters the basement with her. "What's the matter, Jess?" he asks as she approaches her. So first of all, this isn't your house. Who the fuck are you to be breaking people's windows?
Who are you asking who's who in a house that's not yours?
Yeah, he's something else.
He's asking a lot of questions.
Yeah. So outside, Fuller arrives with other policemen close behind, and they find the patrolman dead in his car. Hearing Jess screaming from inside the house, they break in. By the time they reach the basement, they find Jess and Peter lying together. They both appear to be dead. Again, his blue eyes are very prominent. They're the lights on them. They're shining on them. But finally, Jess stirs. She has killed Peter with the fire poker. This is very reminiscent of Giallo filmmaking. A lot of times, there's a trope in Giallo where the wrong person is thought to be the killer, and then they're themselves killed by the killer. There's also like the use of black leather gloves, which Lieutenant Fuller used earlier in the movie as well. Back upstairs, there's a doctor gives Jess a sedative, and she's sleeping. And although the house is bustling with activity, because there's so many people in here, doctors, police officers, all that sort of stuff. Fuller, unable to question her, hypothesizes about the case, convinced that Peter was actually the killer. This is when Mr. Harrison suddenly decides to go into shock. So throughout the whole movie, he's been spared.
His daughter's gone. Now he's fucked up.
Because, like, they still haven't found... They found the dead bodies, but they still haven't found his daughter. You know, so the poor guy, he's still holding out hope.
But now he wants to act on it.
Exactly.
I'm distraught. Fuck.
So the doctor intervenes and wants to take Mr. Harrison to the hospital. Chris leaves with them, and so do the other police officers, leaving Jess alone and unconscious with a guard in front of the house. Like, this is so stupid. Why didn't you take her to a hospital? Or I think they even mentioned that, no, they were talking about somebody comes around and says the coroners, they're going to take the bodies to another coroner because they don't have.
To like another hospital, right?
Yeah, why didn't you just take her to a hospital? That's so fucking weird. But instead, they leave her by herself, this victim, to be victimized again. You know, it's so fucked. You know, she deserved so much better. But unfortunately, after they leave, the house is silent and the attic door opens. We see the bodies of Claire and Mrs. Mack. They're still up there, unnoticed by anybody. The killer climbs down out of the attic, saying, "Agnes, it's me, Billy." As the camera slowly pulls away from the house, we see Mrs. Mack in the background hanging from the hook and Claire in the foreground in the bag. Iconic shot. We then see the lone police officer in the front of the porch smoking a cigarette. Suddenly, the phone begins to ring, just as it did after all the murders that came before and in the preceding weeks. So to me, Jess is dead. There's no final girl.
Oh! Whoa, 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 wowie, wowie, wowie.
I love that you're just. I love that I could be here for you. we could talk through this.
Ay, Dios mío, qué horror. No,
how are you feeling right? Uy, qué horror. Shout out to Johnny and Isaac.
Thank you for putting me on, by the way.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, so here's the thing. In my notes, I have that Jess is an overall amazing final girl, and that
Uh-huh.
she never put up with a man's shit from jump, and she did what she was gonna want to do and what was gonna make her life better.
Uh-huh.
And basically, her energy is, I'm not about to be tethered to you because you don't have shit going on.
Yeah.
But she's not alive anymore.
Let's take a moment of silence for Jess. I love this. We're here for you.
I I was just so willing to talk about how amazing she is.
She's still amazing.
No, I mean she was.
It's just past tense. Now it's just past tense.
Okay.
Just justice for Jess.
And with her yellow looking amazing, with her bizarre accent, like that accent's not normal.
Yeah, it did come in and out.
It was
The
it was totally
yeah,
made up.
yeah. So
Okay, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, here's the thing. I thought Peter was the killer. No, I was wrong.
uh, everything leads us to believe that either if he was the killer, there were two killers because after Peter is dead, we see that the killer, descend from the attic and he says the same thing that he was saying on the phone calls, Agnes, it's me, Billy. We don't see her die, but as we know, after every murder, he makes a phone call. We hear the phone ringing, and then the movie ends.
So
It's a
then,
genius ending.
so then I guess I'm just wondering, like, who's the one with the?
I wish this was a visual medium so you could see the pain that is going over Anthony's face right now.
So, like, who's the one with the juicy cock? Is that Peter or Billy?
Billy's the one with the juicy cock.
Hey, what's up, Billy? What's going on over there?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I love how that's what you focused on. You're like, wait. I was promised juicy cock?
By whomst?
Yes. Whom shall be delivering said cock?
Because somebody said they had it.
Yeah. Somebody said they had that thing on them, and that thing ain't things. What's going on here?
I'm. So,
I'm gonna, Anthony. You feel free to let the emotions come over you. I'm gonna say a couple things about the movie, and then we can talk about it.
okay.
So, during preparations for the release, Warner Brothers studio executives asked the director, Bob Clark, to change the ending scene to show Claire's boyfriend, Chris, appear in front of Jess and say, Agnes, don't tell them what we did before killing her. However, Clark insisted on keeping the ending ambiguous. So you were looking for that ending where, like, where Chris comes out and is the killer, but no, they left it ambiguous, which I love. I love the ambiguous ending. Okay,
I was fucked with. They played me. They played right in my face.
so the killer, popularly known as Billy, was never confirmed by name. Much like other aspects of the movie, not knowing the killer's identity is meant to increase a sense of fear. According to the director, not knowing anything about the killer was intended to make him less relatable, to have a much more suspenseful impact on the audience. And then a strict rule that Clark had set for himself when it came to writing the female characters was to never objectify them sexually or give them nude scenes. He wanted the college girls to come off as real people and not disposable horror characters waiting to die, which I really felt, and I really appreciated. They felt like characters that we cared for. Obviously, you cared for Jess.
Well, I mean, there was even a line where Barb said, "It's not a convent; it's a sorority house," or something like that. It's
Exactly.
oh, you're right. Get your fuck on.
Is that the Missy Elliott song? Ooh, get your fuck on.
She said freak on, but yeah. But still.
And the last thing I wanted to say was that the director, Bob Clark, felt that college and high school students had not been depicted with any sense of reality in American film, and that he intended to capture the astuteness of young adults. He said college students, even in 1974, are very astute people. They're not fools. It's not all bikinis, beach blankets, and bingo. So
Bingo.
that bingo, that's like a movie from the 50s. Bikinis, blankets, and bingo. I don't know.
Kids don't like bingo anymore. I don't know what's going on. Okay, bro.
So that's the movie. What did you think about Black Christmas?
I enjoyed it. I had a really good time. I was definitely here for Jess not letting a man tell her what's going to happen in her life, because Peter at several times like, oh, we're going to get married, or you're going to have the baby. And Jess was like, that doesn't really energetically align with my mission and what I want to do in life, so I'm not going to do that. So like, I really appreciated that characters like Jess have existed since that point in time, because I think, well, I mean, as a man, we look back in the 70s like, oh yeah, women couldn't do this or they couldn't do that. But like, women were fully aware of what they could do or what they couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like seeing that. Literally this person saying like, well, I'm going to get an abortion because I don't want to have your baby. And I think that's like a really awesome message to send in any kind of movie. But overall, it was cool. It was creepy. It was kooky. It was, those phone calls made me feel something for one reason or another. But it's like, the fact that you put in the work or could still make me feel unsettled and a little bit aroused. Talking about your, it's like, all right, good work. I like what you're doing over there.
Yeah, I agree. I think this movie was so suspenseful. Like it was so important to not only slasher films, but also horror in general. This is a landmark movie. It's so important. And also, so John Carpenter was talking to the director Bob Clark about making a sequel to this.
Oh,
And Bob Clark told him kind of what his idea was that Billy was never caught, and he shows up again later at the end of the same sorority house and kind of starts it over again. And he wanted to have it on a holiday. He was going to call it Halloween, but he decided not to do it. Later on, a couple years later, John Carpenter called Bob Clark and said, "Hey, you remember that idea you had about the killer and Halloween? Were you going to do anything with that?" And Bob Clark said, "No, I wasn't." He's like, "Oh, would you mind if I did something?" And he let him have it. Not only was he influenced by it, he quite literally got like the name of the movie from the directors. That's how important this movie is.
So Halloween wouldn't exist without Black Christmas. And John Carpenter stole his whole idea.
No,
He's a piece of shit who doesn't have an original thought in his mind.
No.
Cool. Got it.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
And I see your tattoo is erasing as we speak.
Bob Clark later on was interviewed. He said that he takes absolutely no credit for Halloween. He said it was just a very minimal conversation he had with John Carpenter.
What a good
Everything
guy.
else was, that Carpenter and him just had a conversation, and that was it. Everything else was Carpenter. And so, but that idea, because originally Halloween was going to be called The Babysitter Murders, just like this movie was originally going to do. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities here. And so Black Christmas is a proto slasher.
I would agree.
And then Halloween was kind of like the beginning of the slasher genre, and then it just exploded from there, But that's how important this movie is and how good it is. And I absolutely, it's kind of like if you love somebody, you love their parents as well, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like to me, So
yeah, definitely. Like, what did Biggie say? I want to suck your dad's dick to get a taste of what you're made of. Yeah, so you're just saying that.
Yeah, that's exactly my sentiment.
Yeah,
Anthony, you nailed it.
No,
There's
but
so many quotable lines in this goddamn episode.
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had a really good time watching it. But because of this movie, I can see other movies that I've never given a chance that are clearly influenced by this. I'm like, I'm gonna watch those now.
So now that you've seen Black Christmas, what we do on the podcast is we rate movies based on upside down crosses. So how many upside down crosses would you give the original Black Christmas? The original half Black Christmas.
Four, for sure.
Okay.
It's not a perfect movie, but honestly, this movie made me feel stuff. And even though it did take place in the 70s, a lot of good movies do take place. Well, a few. And this is one of those movies that, well, this is one of those good movies that took place in the 70s.
This 70s slander that you are obsessed with.
I mean, they were gross. I don't know.
I mean, everybody was sweaty and oily and all of it. I get it. Yeah.
And like everybody had a mustache, but like that's to collect their dirt and oil. It wasn't for looks. We have mustaches now for looks. Back then, it served a purpose. And like, no, I'm not down.
It's like there was no central air in any of the houses. Like everybody's just musty. Yeah.
And they played Pong and watched the Brady Bunch for entertainment. I'm sorry, I can't vibe with people who are just on that level. It makes no sense.
Yeah. All right, Anthony. So, in order to be fully absolved of your horror movie sin, I will be signing you these three movies, of which you must watch. The first one that I'm going to be signing to you is, it's not a 70s movie, but it's a 60s movie. It's called Peeping Tom, and it's British. It's a psychological horror thriller. It's really great. I think you're going to love it. The next one that I would say would be The House on Sorority Row from 1982. This has another, obviously it's in the name. It's about sorority killings that are being done, sorority houses. I think you really like this one as well. And then to end it, I would say Deep Red from 1975. This Italian giallo film. It's an absolute blast. I just did an episode on it last week, or recorded an episode on it. It's going to come out later. It's an amazing movie. I think it'll change your mind about 70s horror films. And I'm so happy to be going on this journey with you. We're starting a new podcast, My 70s Confessional.
My 70s torture. Okay, cool. So like just my response to that is like, fuck off. I watch what I want, when I want, and how I want. And like Jess said, I'm getting a bank account and an abortion. You can't tell me what to do.
You're a feminist all the way through.
And nothing but. So Deep Red, more like deep fuck you. I'm kidding. I will literally watch all of these and tell you about it.
Hopefully you watch them and then you'll come back on. I'd love to have you. You're an absolute fucking amazing guest. This has been so much fucking fun. Thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate it. If you could please let my audience know, my listeners know, how they can follow you. Everybody needs to be following your genius, just the genius that is Anthony Jerome.
The host does protest too much, but I honestly appreciate it. Like, I am AnthonyJeromeM on Instagram, email, FaceSpace, and on Twitter I'm AnthonyJeromeM, Anthony JEROM, then capital M. That's where I spend most of my time, just harassing people on the internet, making jokes, talking about liquor and food and penis. But if you want to follow a not safe for work account, hey, I'm your guy. What's going on?
There you go.
If you like witchcraft, also, if you like TikToks and chicken, Also,
And shrimp.
if you like shrimp, I'm your guy and then some. So fuck around and find out. And I'm Anthony Jerome.
Honestly, you are like the biggest, like the best surprise I've had in meeting somebody new this year and just vibing with somebody. I think you're like just a wonderful person. You're warm, caring, and you're so funny. I hope you know how fucking hilarious you are. And thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
I could cry. Thank you so much, though. For inviting, it's so nice. But thank you so much for inviting me. And like,
Yeah,
once I do my homework, maybe I'll come back.
I would love to have you on another
Be the
episode.
second guest to show up a second time.
You think I'm fucking around? I would, in a heartbeat, start another podcast with you, chronicling your '70s fucking journey through horror. We'll do it. We'll talk later. We'll fucking do it. All right.
Awesome. Cool. I'm sorry. I'm not about to let the people know what's going on.
So, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at on Twitter at MHCPod. My Instagram account is My Horror Confessional. If you want to email the show with any ideas or anything like that, you can email us at myhorrorconfessional@gmail.com. The music was done by Taylor Fox. You can follow her on Instagram at the Taylor Fox. You can also follow her her Instagram account, Great Hag. She's got a album coming out soon. It's going to be great. The artwork was done by my friend Cap Mikey. You can follow him at Instagram at Cap'n_Mikey_arts. That's it. Thank you so much for listening, and go follow Anthony JeromeM.
Bye.
That was the show, man. Thank you so much for doing that. That was 3 hours and 20 minutes. I'm probably gonna cut it down to like 2:08, 2:40, depending. But yeah, man, thank you so much, man. What'd you think? Did you have fun?
I had a really good time. And like, here's the thing: we're not gonna do that 70s shit. But but the thought of it, but the thought of it is truly delightful.
Yeah. God damn.
Like-
Let me think about it for a little bit or something.
Look,
Shit.
No, no.
Okay.
But it would be like just the idea is so funny. But it was, no, I had such a great time. Like